Oh, hey there, and welcome once again to the Great Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Weber, the founder of the program. Sounds so official when I say it like that. And what you're listening to this is my show. This is a testimony program where I sit across the table from another human being, and I get to know who they are, ask them about their life, hear the highs and here's the lows. But most importantly, we talk about how people came to know Christ and just what it has looked like in the context of their real life to get to know Him, to follow Him, and to figure out who this God is. These are unscripted, unedited conversations with people who follow a real God in their real life. It's my hope that these are encouraging to believers and unbelievers alike, that just hearing real people's stories about following Christ just would be an inspiration to you from one end to the other. Super fun to record. So glad you are listening. If you can go ahead and give this show a high rating on the Apple Podcast or the Stitcher or the Google Play Music, whatever platform you listen to it on. If you give it a good rating, give it a little comment on there, it'll just help it to show up sooner as people are searching for new podcasts. That's how the thing works. And I'm just excited to have this show growing as it is and getting out there to more ears. As I just want people to hear these stories about this amazing God of ours. You can follow the show on Facebook. Just search for the Great Stories Podcast there. And of course, if you want to be on the show, I would love to have you on the show. Shoot me an email at thegreatstoriespodcast@gmail.com. This week is a little different. My guest is somebody that is not unfamiliar to the show. It's me. I finally managed to convince myself to come on my own show. I mean, I'm sort of the testimony recording guy now, and I hadn't been on my own show yet, so it was a step of obedience for me. I was a little nervous about it. I didn't realize how nerve-wracking it can be to come on to my own program. So thank you so much to those of you who've been willing to come on so far. But this was really fun. I invited one of my first guests, Justin Abelay, to come back and interview me. We had a great time. It was a good long talk. I've actually never heard myself say all of the things that I said all at once, and it was a real joy to be able to get this all out there. And I just hope that my story is an encouragement to folks that I know, as it is to folks that I don't. And well, hey, I guess I'll let myself speak for myself. So I hope you enjoy this interview as much as we enjoyed recording it. Here we go.
Jesus, we thank you for this time that we get to come here and hang out, God. We're here to glorify you. We're here to see your Spirit move, God, even in the midst of these conversations that we're having, God. We thank you for Ryan, Lord, how you've used him in the Resonate Church body, God, how you used him at work, Lord, and we're going to hear more of that here tonight, God, and may everyone that's listening to this, that's logging on right now, or just listening to the podcast, God, I pray, Lord, that they would hear just your goodness, that you are more than we could ever imagine, that our sins are greater than we can ever think, God, yet your love is greater than that. It covers everything, Jesus. And, as Ryan is sharing his story, that we would hear that tonight, Lord. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
So you want to kick this off, or you want? I mean, I'm kind of like the new guy.
I know. I'm actually surprisingly nervous to be on my own thing.
Yeah.
I've had to do some arm twisting with several people, to get them on the show. Come on, it'll be great.
Now you know why.
There's people that want to hear your story. It's going to be a blessing, but I haven't done it. And so it was kind of an obedience thing.
Sure.
On my part, it's I'm the testimony guy, right?
Yeah.
So I I guess we kind of have to do it.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. I mean, people they're gonna want to know.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are listening in, my name is Justin. I'm actually the guest host tonight. Ryan was gracious enough to allow me to interview him. We get to hear your story tonight, man.
Yeah.
And just all the cool things. I'm probably going to learn. I mean, I've known you for a while, but I'm probably going to learn even more things about you through this. So
yeah.
But yeah, dude, like you've had a crazy summer.
No kidding.
Tell me about it.
It's still crazy. It's hot right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here. I'm holding an ice pack on my lap because I don't do heat very well.
I'm trying not to move so I don't sweat, so I'm going to be very still, like just like a statue.
So you know how they tell you that if you have a big turkey, that it takes longer to like thaw it out.
Okay.
I think it's similar with me, but in the other direction, where like once I get hot, it just takes forever to cool off. It's a surface area to mass ratio kind of thing. I just don't have enough skin to cool the the inner turkey.
But my problem is when it gets hot, I have like this weird nose, so like my glasses tend to this.
So you're doing this all day?
Yeah. So like by the end of the interview, it's gonna be like that. Just like, hey, so Ryan, tell me about
in a little puddle.
Yeah, it's like, what's wrong with my nose?
Yeah, this has been a crazy busy summer, man. It's hard to like keep track of everything. I mean, on one hand, just doing regular ministry has been sort of a sprint in a lot of ways.
Okay.
Because so I run the grade school ministry, but during the summer, I'm very wary of leader burnout, right? And so something we've done for the last 4 or 5 years is give our regular school year staff the summer off. Because they show up every week and they show up to all of our events and everything.
Yeah.
And dealing with kids is a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy. And if we push them right through summer, by the time fall comes, the school year starts again, they're tired. And a lot of them take vacations anyway, so the staffing's really inconsistent. Anyhow, this year, we like to fill the spots with like normal people, I guess. What would you call them? Like churchgoers who serve for the summer. And this year the signups for that were super low.
Yeah. Okay.
Which just means that myself and just a couple other people have to do a lot more running around. So Sundays are just exhausting.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna sacrifice the program. What I tell people is that our staffing might take the summer off, but the devil doesn't, and he still wants to eat our kids. So I'm gonna stay there, and we're gonna fight him. Yeah. It just means I'm gonna be a lot more tired, but that's okay. Like that's what we got to do. We're gonna do it. I went to the Vegas mission trip with Amplify.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's a long trip, and I guess if people want to listen to it, it's 2 episodes back. Is kind of the Vegas experience, and another just so fruitful, so exhausting, so hot. Vegas is just, I don't know how there are homeless people there. That the thing. Yeah, they just sit there in the sun. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Vegas is like south of hell.
Yeah, right. It's like hell had a little baby.
Yeah, my family lives out there, and it's like summertime. It's just,
it's ridiculous. It's a desert. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy.
So you guys were out there doing things and sweating it up.
Yeah, street ministry, basically bringing food to people, doing block parties, trying to talk to people on the strip. Talking to people on the strip about Jesus is one of the just most intimidating, and I would say one of the least fruitful, like immediately fruitful things. Because thousands of people walk by, and maybe at the end of the night, between everybody that was there, like, oh, I had one good conversation, he had one. Yeah. It's like, wow. Like,
out of all these people, it's like just one.
Yeah, that's all we had was like 2 conversations. We got 50 people out there. So that was cool. And that's, I don't get paid to do Amplify the high school stuff. I consider that my volunteer ministry.
Okay.
So that, so that's bonus, and that's on top of the other ministry, and I have to miss a Sunday for it, so I got to cover myself in all these spots with people who don't exist, and so that was fun. And then
that was like June.
That was the middle of June.
June, yeah. Okay.
And then there's other events that pop up here and there, but then I'd say the last couple weeks has been just a total sprint.
Yeah.
Up until right now. Because we had the grade school ministry does this thing called Summer Adventure Camp.
Yeah.
And we had 124 kids for the Fremont version, and then Hayward had 100. I didn't go to that one, but it's the same. We do it 2 weeks in a row at two different spots.
Yep.
And that was so fun, and just incredibly, like, to watch the spiritual formation of the kids that go to these camps. It's crazy awesome.
What does that look like? Like, what do you mean spiritual formation? Like,
There's something about going to camp that it's like a full immersion. Like, if they tell you, if you want to learn Spanish, like, go live in Caracas for a year and you'll be fluent, and it's kind of like that, because you think about a lot of these kids were our kids, maybe 2/3 of them, I know them, and probably 1/3 of them are kids we don't know, either, just from schools or invites, or they might not be churched at all.
Okay.
But either way, assuming a kid shows up to church every week, we only get, 72 minutes a week with them. And those aren't all jam-packed minutes. Sometimes they show up late. We're doing a game. And it's very spread out. It's inconsistent. A lot of times it feels like on a Sunday we'll take, a step forward and then just most of a step back.
Okay. Yeah.
It's hard to build momentum.
Sure.
But when you get people, it's like, I see you Monday for 8 hours. You go to bed, you wake up, and I see you again. And you almost pick up the next morning right where you left off. So really, over the course of 5 days, you've got more time, just cumulative time than you have with the whole rest of the year.
Yeah.
Assuming they come every week on a Sunday, which most families don't. By the end of that week, these kids look at their leaders like they're the best friends. These themes that we talk about through the week really start to land and make sense with them. They have time to think about it and process it.
Yeah.
And it's not unusual for out of 120 kids for us to see, 10, 12, 15 kids say, like, yeah, I want to follow Christ.
Okay.
And then we'll have, this year we had like 24 or 5 of our church kids who say, I already follow Christ. They say, I want to take another step closer toward him. And we're very careful, because a lot of times people talk about how, like, I made the decision to follow Christ when I was in 1st grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, 9th grade, and then finally in college. So we're very careful to make sure the kids like they know actually what they're saying.
Yeah.
And they're encouraged to say no. Like, the right answer is no if it's true. Like, because there's a big risk with the kids. Like, you're their hero. They want to give you what you want to hear. So if they think, oh yeah, I want to follow Jesus,
or if the friends are all saying yes, then yeah.
So that's, anyway, it's that kind of thing. There's some families that were super impacted by it.
Okay.
There's one in particular where she, it's a family that goes to our church, and they have a special needs daughter, and they have other kids who are in our ministries, and this was the one of the first camps like this that has offered a special needs section.
Okay.
Where we had people who were going to actually just take care of those kids. And I remember the mom brings her on the first day and was asking, like, what do you need me to do? Where should I be for the day? And and she didn't realize that we were talking about, like, you leave. Yeah. And we take care of your daughter.
There was part she's like hesitant.
We'll involve her in all these different things, and we know what we're doing. We have a professional, like, this is what she does. This is her job. She's going to take care of your daughter.
Yeah.
Like, you can bring lunch. That's fine. Because that's complicated, I guess. And she was just blown away. She couldn't believe it.
Okay.
she started crying right there in front of the church, just like, I had no idea that this was possible for my daughter. Like, thank you so much. And you know, by the end of the week, she's bringing us spring rolls and like, so just blown away appreciative.
Yeah.
The next week, she calls one of our birth to kinder leaders and tells her, like, I want to serve in your ministry. Like, I want to lead one of the small groups. Can I be a teacher, you know, for your kids? Like, just one kid, one leader, and one mom. Like, that's just one story. And we got 120 something kids there.
Yeah.
And I wish I knew all the stories, but
is that like a common thing that you'll see? You know, kids are coming to, you know, Sunday morning or to these events, and all of a sudden you never seen their parents before, and all of a sudden they start popping up, coming to church on a Sunday, or just engaging, wanting to know more what's going on.
Right.
You know,
there's a lot of families that they kind of I don't want to say it's not consumer, but they're looking for a spot for their kids first. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Like, they want to, like, their priority is I want my kid to like church. I want them to want to go. So I'm not going to, like, get involved until I know that, you know, little Johnny boy likes it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cases where I'll know their kids for 2 years, and I'll see the parents, you know, shake their hand, high five, you know, but don't really hear much from them until the kid starts to feel plugged in and starts to grow. And it's a lot of times these camps where we get to really learn, like, who the parents are. And it's through that stuff that, you know, I have a couple parents right now that seems like they came out of nowhere. I've known their kids for 3 years, and just this year, it's like they're in. Okay. Like, so in that they're doing things I didn't ask them to do. Like, sending me emails like, hey, I was thinking about this thing coming up, and, you know, I was wondering, like, what I just wrote some ideas down about like this, and I opened this email, and it's this, like, gorgeous thing laid out, like, you could run this better than I can. Like, come on in.
It's like their mind's ticking now. Like, there's ways that they can be a part of what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah.
And then just last week I was at the Amplify High School summer camp. Yeah. Where it was a heck of an undertaking.
It looked like you guys just kind of like hung out in like one like beach area. And
yeah. Well, kind of like we rented four houseboats in Shasta Lake.
Okay.
4 ski boats. And we found this great flat, like, beach area. It was very muddy.
Yeah.
I got very muddy.
Yep, saw that.
Yep. And I think we had 80 high schoolers out there, 12, 13 adults. We cooked our own food. You know, just it was a crazy undertaking. There were some difficulties. Almost everything that we rented broke down at some point.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, the mechanics from the marinas were there every day fixing something. And
so these were rented from the lake area? Okay.
Yeah, there's I don't know, a couple dozen marinas there that you can rent houseboats and all that.
Sure. Okay.
So we did that. There was just a sudden lightning thunderstorm in the middle of the night on like our second night there. And the timing could not have been worse because we were looking at the maps and like, oh, I think it might miss us. We're looking at the Doppler. Like, I think it's okay, but if it does come, it'll be at like 2 a.m. So we're going to do this fun game at midnight that kids don't know about. And then, you know, by 2 we'll be done. We'll sleep inside. It'll be fine. And so we set this game up. And the game is where, like, it's basically a sort of a capture the flag tag sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
Where the kids are all over here and they're trying to get over here, and all the leaders are in between, you know, trying to tag them out and all that. It's like but it's pitch black. There's no lights there. And so we lead all the kids into the forest, deep into the woods.
Okay.
Right? and their job is to try to get back. And it's dark and we're after them. And then right as they're at the beginning of the game, all the students that want to play are like off in the woods somewhere. This storm just...
Oh my gosh.
Lightning every 10 seconds. It's just... It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah, like Hunger Games.
And all the leaders were like, oh no. Like, this is bad. It's not going to miss us. It's right on top of us.
Yeah.
So we're scrambling to get all the bags.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's luggage is sitting outside. We brought a drum set, a bass, lead, guitar, microphones, a soundboard, big speakers, and covering all that, and everything's getting wet and muddy. And in the meantime, the kids don't know. Like, we've called the game off, but they don't know. No one can hear anything because it's raining and windy and lightning and thunder. And every time they see one of us, they run away because that's part of the game. So we're just like, no, come back. And they think, no, you're tricking us. It's like, oh my gosh, what a disaster. Some of them said it was the best night ever.
Well, of course they're going to say that.
Other ones would not go outside to save their life. Anyway, that was crazy.
So how did the storm just pass and everyone just eventually came out of the woods, or did you do a head count?
Yeah, but eventually everyone came back, and everyone like checks their group. Like, okay, everyone's here. Go to bed.
Okay.
We'll see what flipped over and blew away in the morning.
Yeah, okay.
It was fun though. We almost lost one of the houseboats in the middle of it. Right when we were going to say go, I was like, you know what? I'm going to check the boats to make sure the mooring is good. Like, I'd hate for the ladies' boat to drift off into the lake in the middle of the night. And sure enough, one of them was starting to move around and pull off of its mooring. So I felt it was like a movie, dude. It's lightning, thunder. I'm getting soaked, and I'm out there with this giant stake and a hammer, just ding, ding.
All you need is like dramatic music in the background.
I heard it.
Yeah. Oh, you heard it? Okay, yeah.
In my soul.
Yeah. Some underscoring going on there in your head.
But I saved the boat.
Okay.
Felt good about that. And then, what a mess.
Wow.
But that was another camp where we had kids that we never met before come to the summer camp.
Yeah, okay.
And they don't know anyone. They feel weird and awkward. And
like friends invited them. And
they don't know about this Jesus thing. Like, I've been to church, but not, and by the end of it, they're just talking about how, like, I feel like I'm family. I didn't know about Jesus before, but I want to know more. I want to follow him. I'm going to keep coming. Like, you guys are my friends now. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And again, you don't get that contiguous time unless you go to these camps, and it's hugely impacting to me too. Like, you can't go to something like that and not be affected. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I got beat up.
Okay.
I got holes in my fingers. I got a hole in my arm.
Just from like random things.
I'm finding bruises all over myself.
Okay,
I feel like I got beat up and I have amnesia.
So you have no idea what the scar came from?
I know a few of them are from mud wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other ones are just from,
I don't know.
Random.
Yeah, just hitting things. Just got me. But
so what's going on from now until the end of the year? What's on your plate
for 2019?
Yeah, for this ministry, or just for yourself and ministry.
So a couple things for me, just personally speaking, and this will kind of go into my story later a little bit, but I feel like I'm heading into another kind of growth season.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah.
Not to say that I'm feeling stagnant, but I feel like there's a pressure building in me to turn a page. And it's sort of an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
Because I'm a planner, and I want to know.
You want to know what's ahead of you.
I want to know what's ahead. What's next? What should I be prepping for? I'm thinking 5 years ahead, and the 5 years ahead is totally foggy. I have no idea. I want to be available to learn, and whatever that looks like. Whether it's there's an option to go back to school, which I'm considering.
Okay.
There's options. Within the church to pursue, whatever next steps are there. I don't even know, but I'm ready for what that is.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm ready to find out.
Okay.
And in my experience, God usually makes me wait a good deal of time after I think I'm ready for what's next. He's like, no, you're not. You still have to go through this and that. So, man, my personal plans are always up in the air.
Yeah.
Because every time I've made them,
they change.
It changes.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
My plan is to be ready and to be teachable and to be willing and see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get more into that. I want to want to dig into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you just described like a bunch of like craziness that's been going on with like the youth and like your joy. I can just tell like you love it.
Yeah.
You know, and in addition to that, you're creating this platform for people to come and share their stories.
Yeah.
Like walk me through how did that start, and like what's been going on, like what has there been any like moments where you're just like, dang, I can't believe like I'm learning this, and
I know, it's so
like
weird.
this is so crazy. Like I didn't think it's gonna be like where it's at now today, and
it's really weird.
Now we're getting your story, and it's just on top of everything else you got going on.
Right.
So
this is sort of a hobby, really, what it ends up being. It came out of a love for audio, podcasts in particular. I'm not a big reader. I've always had a hard time reading. I had a hard time learning to read. I was on the cusp of special ed when it came to language skills.
Okay.
So just reading books is it's like a workout for me. And I'll do it, but I absorb much better audio. So I as soon as like podcasts became a thing, and I realized like, wow, I could just listen to this stuff for free, like whenever I want. Like, yes, I'm all over it. And I drive trucks, so I'll push play, and you spend 10 hours listening to this show and that show.
Yeah.
So I loved it, and I think by far my favorite shows are the real long form conversational style ones, because they're less scripted. It's not like a product that you're being presented. Like you're just invited into someone's brain, and that process is really fun for me.
Yeah.
But I was looking for a show like this, because I listened to one of my favorite ones is like the Joe Rogan show.
Okay.
But he doesn't get into faith stuff or politics really until recently. But and I was like, man, it'd be cool if we had like that show, but where people like told their testimony. That'd be great. So I was looking all over for it, and I could not find it. So I said, like, okay, I wonder how hard would it be?
Just to, like, do your own and see what happens.
How hard would it be to do it?
Yeah.
So I started looking, Googling a lot, YouTubing a lot. Like, how do you even do that? Can someone like me just do this? And I found out that like it's shockingly easy. Like you just start creating things. Yeah. And then one of the harder parts was to learn how to record decent audio and mixing it through the computer programs and uploading it here, download it. Like all that stuff is totally foreign to me.
So and you just like learned on your own and
well, and you can hear if you go back to like episode 1. The audio sucked. It was, I didn't know what I was doing yet. Like that was like my first attempt at recording a 2-hour thing with DJ. And and since then, really, I mean, what I was looking for was I want to hear the gospel, but I want to hear it totally raw, unedited, unreviewed. What is your experience with it? And that's hard to find a lot of times. And it's a little awkward even for Christian folk a lot of times.
It's hard to find, like, having someone tell it? Or okay.
Having someone willing, like, hey, will you sit down for 2 hours and tell me everything about you? That's just, it's a very unlikely conversation.
Yeah, especially in, like, today's...
Yeah, it's just odd. Yeah. And so just having recorded these things, I've gotten to do that, 20 times. Whatever. But then there's, my hope is that other people will also get to experience what it's like to follow Christ through someone else's eyes. Yeah. And that, people who are believers would be encouraged by it. Maybe people who believe but are maybe kind of pulled back from religion because, and you hear this, because it's full of phonies, because it's hypocritical, because all the criticisms of the big church, it's hard to lay that criticism over one person who's telling you, here's what Jesus is to me. Like you can't argue with that. Yeah. And it's my hope that hearing other people's stories would unlock a rekindling for those people. And then, for for the non-believer, non-church person, it's kind of the same thing, where it's so hard to hear someone's genuine take on something and say, you might say, like, I don't believe what they believe, but it's hard to say that they don't.
Yeah.
Like, at least you believe this, and your life is different from before to now. Like, something's happening there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most powerful thing anyone has to say.
Okay.
And you don't have to be a polished evangelist, to just say, tell me your story. Like, so I'm enjoying it, and it's my hope that this show just blows up.
Yeah.
Not so that I could be something, but just because this message is powerful.
Yeah, just to see, like, the idea.
Yeah.
People sharing stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has there been any, I mean, not to give names, but has there been any, like, moments where things are being shared and you're like, wow, that's, like, super encouraging, I'm blessed by this?
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Like, anything that stands out to you even at this moment?
I think maybe the last one or two that I did in Vegas.
Yeah, the one in Vegas. Yeah. Okay.
That, I mean, especially when I was talking to Christina, that's the closest I've come to just totally losing it. And it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't because it's so tragic, or turbulent or whatever. It was just
there was, like, a rawness to it.
Gosh, like, I think I've rarely been in the presence of maybe one or two other people that I thought were as anointed as she was, and just feeling like these are, like, Christ is in this person talking to me.
Yeah.
And, like, just her, she's like 22 years old.
Yeah.
Her perspective on the gospel and her opinion about this, and how she's just so, like, gospel centered.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was blown away by that. I couldn't. I had to, like, take a nap when I was done with that. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's a couple others that have just talked about just stuff that they've gone through that I'm just like, I know nothing of that. How did you survive?
Yeah.
Let alone now you're looking back at it with this perspective, and you're so strong.
Yeah.
It blows me away just to see that these changes cannot be explained by self-help or positive thinking or tricking yourself. Like, this is a changed human. Like, you have a new identity, and that just doesn't happen unless what they're saying is true.
Yeah. From
one end to the other. It's humbling. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And going forward, like you said, you were hoping that this would, expand out. Like, do you have certain individuals or types of folks that you want to connect with and bring onto the show? Earlier you and I were talking about, like, your coworker, but I mean, is there, like, certain, like, groups of people that you want to bring on and get their perspective on things, or just talk to them, or is it just, like, whoever? Yeah,
I want one of each.
Okay.
and a handful of some.
Yeah.
I think there are, if I could pick one category that it seems like I want to reach. Gosh, I want to say all of them, but it's the people that have been hurt by church.
Oh, okay.
There's something about that just resonates with me, where, like, they believed, they started to go,
they went through everything, and, like, something happened.
For some reason, somebody did something, they got hurt, and they've just been far away. And
okay.
I want to encourage those people to take another run at it, I guess, like, it's not over. Because that's hard.
Yeah.
It's almost harder to talk to a hurt Christian than it is to talk to a non-Christian.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the hurt Christian has, like, just some legitimate criticisms of the church, or at least the church they came from.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
I can't make that go away.
Right. And they know the lingo.
Yeah.
Like, you might say something that is very familiar to them. That they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I know that, but
That's what you're supposed to say.
yeah,
Right.
doesn't solve anything. That's
Yeah.
that's actually pretty good. Like I would like to see, I like to hear that and see that
Yeah.
on this show. If there's anybody, I mean, anyone listening that wants to join on, and
Please do.
yeah, please.
I
please
say
take
it at the
mine.
beginning of every show.
Yeah,
If you want to come on, come on.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. If there's anyone out there, I would love to hear more on that.
And you know that there's another category of people that's very specific, and I think that's my own family
Oh,
and just friends
okay.
that I've known from before, hopefully that are either watching or going to listen. I invited them too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, and you'll hear through my story that they would be very surprised
Yeah.
in a lot of ways to
Yeah.
hear the things that I have to say.
Yeah.
And I think without hearing the whole story, it's easy to dismiss
Mm-hmm.
until hopefully they're willing to sit there for a couple hours to figure out like what actually happened to Ryan.
Yeah.
Where did he go?
Yeah. Well, let's get into that. Like
Yeah.
I want to know, was there ever a little Ryan? and you know, growing up, I mean, were you ever my size? I mean, is that
Yes.
okay?
For
good.
a minute.
Okay, just want to, so for a minute, okay, maybe as you were like
Yeah.
walking somewhere and then just shot up. No, but like
Yeah.
just growing up, like you know, what was the world like? What was going on back then? What was what was your home life like?
So it was the early 80s,
Okay,
82.
like a Stranger Things type of feel right now. I
Yes,
think. Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how weird the 80s were until the late into the 90s. And I was like, huh, okay.
Pretty
Yeah,
weird.
I get it. I get it
Even
now.
the music is a little awkward.
Because people always talk about the 80s. Like, what's wrong with the 80s? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
We're trying to be futuristic, but we're not.
Firebirds and big hair. The pants and all that.
Aquanet
And
for days in the bathroom.
Yeah, I look at my, like, the haircut I had in 4th grade was
Yeah.
basically a pompadour with a mullet on them. It was
Oh,
cool,
nice.
man.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
But when I was in 6th grade, my sister made me get a flat top with a mullet, like long in the back, because her boyfriend had that.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is it? Business in the front, party in the back.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
I just look stupid.
Uh,
Turtleneck with the sweater. I mean,
Nobody knew. No one told him, I guess. Someone should have told somebody. Like,
yeah.
hey, this is weird.
But
Stop it.
But is there anything today that we would look back and be like that was a dumb...
Oh, it's the sagging pants.
Okay.
That's got to be it.
Yeah, it looks like you just got off the toilet.
What? Yeah.
Like, oh, I gotta go drive now, but I'm walking out like I just got off the toilet.
Yeah. Exactly. I have so many thoughts on that. I just...
And there's still a belt on, too. That's...
Well, you have to. Otherwise, they go down all the way. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you have to wear boxer shorts under them. And then...
I don't see it that often.
I could never do it.
I don't see it that often, but it's
around.
still there.
There's a guy that walks around Fremont that his...
Does he walk or does he waddle?
Yeah, he shuffles. He shuffles because the belt of his pants is
It's like a 4-year-old in
literally at his knees. Yeah,
4-year-old middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's
like he backed up from the urinal and just never
I'm so
bothered to pull him back up.
Gotta get back to my bedroom.
Yeah. Oh, I feel bad for that guy.
Is there any hairstyles though like that would?
Oh, the hair now.
Because we went like
know.
we had that mullet. We had
the Jerry curl.
Asians had a thing where we grew our bangs out and we flipped it.
Yeah.
And that was I couldn't do that because I don't have like straight hair, so it was like wavy. It looked like a bad like I don't know, like something you took out of the dryer sheet. You know,
Yeah.
it looked like that. But
No, I think hair now is pretty tame.
well, they got that hipster like facial beard
the
thing with
beard.
the clean cut up top.
The beard is
Look
kind
like
of
a garden gnome.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe that's something we'll look back at. Like, what were they doing?
Yeah, the glasses with the beard
Yeah.
and the nice hair with like a flannel.
And you notice that girls'
Skinny
eyebrows
jeans.
are getting thicker again.
Oh, that's a thing?
Yeah, like if you notice it, it's like
Wow.
eyebrows are getting thicker again. I'm like,
Okay.
you look interesting.
Look like a vampire.
I was thinking more like Bert.
Bert and Ernie. He's big fuzzy.
But anyways, yeah,
dude.
like okay, so sorry,
The
sidetrack.
80s.
80s, yeah.
80s,
Okay.
right. Yeah, I was born on the peninsula in Kaiser, Redwood City.
Yep. No, it's kind of still there.
It's still there. It's a little bigger than it used to be.
Yeah.
Yep. And mom and dad, me, and a dog.
Okay.
In San Carlos, California.
San Carlos.
God's country is what they called it.
Okay. It was a lot smaller back then.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, in the 80s, like my parents bought their house for, I think it was like $115,000.
Okay.
And all the houses around there are selling for like the 1.5, 1.6.
Yeah.
And it's all Google, Apple, Facebook.
Circle Star was there.
Circle Star was there.
Yeah.
Now there's apartments there.
Okay. I remember that. It was a spinning stage.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, it was just closed down. My dad used to tell me, "Oh, I went to concerts there, and the stage."
My parents took me there.
They saw the Who.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They saw Keith Moon pass out on the Circle Star stage, on drugs, whatever.
So bad.
Yeah. Now it looks different. Now, man. A lot of apartment buildings.
Okay.
A lot of new houses. They buy the house, knock it down, and build
something else.
2-story, and they fill the lot, so there's not really big yards anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. A lot of nice cars.
Oh.
A lot of Teslas. My parents have a Tesla.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do they have a battery in the garage and they charge it up there, or they just hang out at Target?
They got a charging station. You know what I did over there?
What did you do?
I pulled my Titan up, and the only spots that were left were the Tesla charging spots. So I parked in one of them, and then I just took the cord and I opened my gas cap and I just kind of stuck it in there and like wedged it. And so
people driving by confused, like
they're looking at it like, "Is that an electric truck? Oh, that's cool."
Yeah,
I didn't know they were doing those.
EV Titan.
Yeah. Anyway, a lot of Teslas over there, shiny cars.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you grew up in San Carlos.
Yeah.
You went to school out there until
I did.
All throughout high school too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
High school and early college.
Yeah.
Yeah. All in that little Redwood City, San Carlos, San Mateo chunk right over there. Yeah. Cool spot.
What was home like?
Home was great, man.
Your parents are cool, by the way. Like
they're so cool.
Like the tie-dye thing.
I know.
I mean, that's like.
I didn't even realize how cool they were until later. I was like, wow, you guys are pretty neat.
Yeah.
Like they were. You know, Dad was a fire captain. I think when I was a kid. Yeah. Later on, he went up to be a battalion chief.
Foster City, right?
For Foster City, and then they merged to be Foster City San Mateo.
Yeah.
And he was so cool. You know, your dad's a fireman. Like that's the coolest thing ever. Like you go there in a firehouse and there's hoses and these big strong guys and you know, it's this fun thing. And, you know, I always remember, you know, you tell people like, oh yeah, like Dad would miss every third thing because there's 3 shifts. So someone's always on. So whether it's Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving or my music rehearsal, soccer game, whatever, Dad missed a third of them. But I never saw it as like a bad thing.
Yeah.
I always remember I would tell people, like my dad's a fireman. Like he had to work tonight. I'm like, oh, cool. And a couple times we did Thanksgiving dinner like at the firehouse, and they would always get a call during dinner for sure.
Yeah.
And
you see people going down the pole and stuff. And
well, they didn't.
Did they have a pole? No.
They had a pole.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was only at night. They didn't hang out up there. We were having dinner on the ground level.
Okay.
And you'd hear the woo, woo, woo,
yeah.
and they'd be like, oh, and then they would all get up and scurry out the door, and it's like, there they go.
Hanging out the side of the fire truck.
And, waving at you on the way by. It's like a movie. It was so cool.
Okay.
So, and that's early on, you know, when I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like the ideal job to me, you know, and I ended up pursuing that later. But Mom was a bank teller while I was younger.
Oh, okay.
And
which bank?
Hibernia Bank.
Oh,
which isn't around.
Yeah,
and then Wells Fargo later. I think I don't know. Wells Fargo bought them, but Bank of America might have.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was neat. So you know, Mom was home, picked me up from school every day. Most days she brought me a Kit Kat bar.
Oh,
Still
nice.
remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I would.
That was like a thing.
Yeah, it was a surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd always ask her.
Expect a
Is
surprise.
there? Did you get a surprise today?
Yeah.
And I don't know where she got them or exactly when, but just on the way to pick me up from school for like a long time.
Yeah,
she bought a Kit Kat bar.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, I want a Kit Kat right now too.
I don't know. There's a lot of mom stuff like that.
Yeah.
That
That's
I look
cool.
back at, and there's one thing two things. I never thought about where food came from
It was just there.
until I had to go shopping.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if I told my mom this or if I told other people, that I remember thinking, like, I don't think there was ever not cereal. I don't ever remember being out.
Yeah. Did they have like a go-to brand like that was always there? Because for us it was Frosted Flakes. Like my dad loved it, so it was always in the house. I like Fruity Pebbles or
I went through
Apple Jacks.
I just went through whatever was edible, really.
Okay.
The top,
So it wasn't a consistent cereal box.
No, just the top 20, whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
I just thought that was so cool. Like that communicates love to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? That she never didn't have that. I don't know when she did these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times I went with her.
Okay.
Another cool thing about having a fireman dad is that he was also home for 1/3 or 2/3 of the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times during the week, my dad would be taking me here or there, or he would chaperone a trip, or he would just be there.
Yeah.
At just weird times, take me to the park, and
Yep.
and a lot of other parents just thought that was weird.
Yeah. Middle of the day.
Yeah, does your dad work? Yeah, my dad works.
Yeah.
He's a fireman.
Marine World was there before too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Redwood City area.
It was that was. I was very young.
Okay, so you don't remember them taking you there?
No, I don't think I ever went to that Marine World. No.
Okay, you just remember the Vallejo one. Vallejo one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I went everywhere else. I remember going to the auto parts store with Dad.
Yeah. Okay.
And I remember sitting on the bar, where you order the tools from,
Mm-hmm.
and they had this like panel with all the switches on it. I thought
Yeah.
I would sit there and flip all the
Nice.
switches.
Yeah.
And, Dad would be working with tools. He could do anything.
Yeah.
As handy as people think I am, my dad is like 10 times handier.
Mm-hmm.
He could do anything. I don't even know where he learned to do these things. He could repipe a house. He could do the HVAC
wow.
system. He
Yeah.
can dismantle electronics and put them back together. He could
just
do
knows.
anything in a car.
Yeah.
I just remember watching him do brake jobs and wiring things and drilling and screwing and all these crazy things.
It's like a lost art now. Like a whole generation has just missed it.
Oh no, people think I'm weird because I have tools and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like I just learned a lot by just watching Dad.
Yeah.
Because he was there.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. Again, I didn't realize any of that until I was a grown-up, right?
Yeah.
But it was a cool childhood, man. A lot of fun vacations, a lot of camping, a lot of boating.
Yeah. Okay.
If I had a hobby I wanted to do, they were all for it.
Mm-hmm.
Music, whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
They were just so encouraging, really.
And I love that you guys still have like traditions.
Yeah.
Like when you first brought me out to the monster truck shows, and how you guys do that, annually. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like
that
you guys
is cool.
You guys even gone down to like Vegas.
Yeah,
It's like a big deal for you.
I'm the only 30-something guy that goes to Vegas with his parents, right?
Hey, I went for a truck show. I mean,
it's cool. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I didn't know how cool they were until you invited us that first year.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh! Like you see these things on like TV.
Yeah, it doesn't do it justice.
Sunday.
Yeah.
And you see like Bigfoot's gonna come and destroy everything.
I know. You feel like a little kid watching them. They're so entertaining.
Yeah, they
It's
are.
Like, I can't believe I'm watching what I'm watching right now. This
like,
is
something about stuff smashing. It's just like,
it's just fun.
yeah, and it's cool that your parents are so into it. Like, you guys do the
Yeah.
tailgating.
Yeah, they're all about it.
I like this.
Part of me thinks theoretically that they do that just to be with me. I
Really?
think.
Okay.
I think maybe that's too prideful of me to assume, but I think that's part of the motivation. It's like our thing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting hot. Guys.
Yeah, it's
Take my Jesus hat off.
I think today was like 90s. Tomorrow's gonna be hotter. Like my arms are sticking to the flag.
I know. I'm just trying to not move.
Trying to not get stuck to anything here.
Yeah.
So, how old were you when you first moved out of the house, and what was that like? Being on your own, being away from your parents.
Well, that's pretty deep into the story.
Okay.
I think
we can back up a little bit.
We'll back up.
Yeah.
I moved out very abruptly.
Okay. Okay. Great.
But to understand why, we'll have to tell more of it.
Yeah. Take us there.
Well, we'll rewind again to more childhood stuff because I think it starts then.
Okay.
Because I was raised Catholic, and it was the kind of Catholic that I think most like evangelical Christians are sort of critical of.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would go on Sundays and never really hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like part of me thinks that they just didn't teach the gospel, and the other part of me wonders if I just wasn't listening.
Maybe a little bit of both.
And it's probably both, somewhere in the middle. But I remember, Mom would go,
mm-hmm.
and she would go pretty consistently. Every week we would go. Dad didn't really want much to do with church type stuff. He had a lot of criticism of the church.
Yeah.
I think there might be hurts there we haven't shared, but he just wasn't really down with it.
Mm-hmm.
And Mom and I went pretty consistently until I was probably a sophomore in high school.
Like every Sunday?
Yeah.
Years ago, okay.
Yeah, pretty much every Sunday.
Would your dad come with you guys for like the holidays, like the Christmas or Easter?
No.
Okay.
No, he wasn't really interested in it.
Okay.
Yeah. He was never openly critical or judgmental.
He just drew the line.
He never even did that.
Oh.
I was never aware really of his thoughts on it.
Okay.
He was never vocal about it. I'm sure him and my mom talked about it.
Yeah.
Just like, okay, we're gonna raise him Catholic, so you take him,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not. Okay.
Also, even going into the marriage, like it's been like that's your thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. And I wouldn't say that he's like against it, really.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not for me.
Yeah.
So that's, and I can kind of just respect that
mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, because you hear a lot of families that, the parents have disagreeing opinions about it,
mm-hmm.
and they just, they end up kind of tearing kids up a little bit,
yeah,
like fighting over their faith or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Making them choose and
that just never really happened.
Yeah. Okay.
But, I kind of did that on my own, especially because once high school hit, I started to have a lot of questions just about religion, about God, and how does this work? Creator, what is God?
Mm-hmm.
Father, Son, like how does that Trinity thing happen? Mm-hmm. And I just had a lot of thoughts about it,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't feel like I could ask anybody those kinds of questions, because you're not supposed to doubt. Like the worst thing you could do is doubt God. Yeah. Like that's your, you're gonna get punished for that.
Yeah. So if you ask a question, that's a sign of doubt. So
I just never did.
Yeah. Just kind of nod your head.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was a tendency of mine anyway. Is if I didn't know something, I would just kind of pretend that I did,
mm-hmm.
or just avoid any scenario where my lack of knowledge would be exposed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still kind of do that here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I started to look around at other people who went to church, and I started to see a lot of inconsistency between people that I knew from Sunday and that I knew from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And
this is the church that you went to with your mom?
Yeah, it was a Catholic church across the bay.
Okay.
And I just saw a lot of like what I would label now as hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
And that became more and more frequent to the point where I just like, is anybody here really like legit with this thing? Is anybody living up to this thing that we're being told we have to?
Mm-hmm.
And the people that will tell you they are these snobby, hoity-toity, judgmental, looking down their nose at everybody kind of people. And so I don't like that either.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the goal, well, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a hypocritical sinner except for Sunday.
Yeah.
And, by the time I was a junior in high school, I'd kind of just decided I'd had it with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to develop a very critical, just very angry attitude about anything religious. And that was in the context of going to a Catholic high school, too.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have to take religion class,
Yeah, and sit there all like cross-armed and bitter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, and I don't really remember much of what I was taught there, but it didn't work.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Yeah. Nothing stuck.
Yeah, it didn't stick on me.
Okay.
And so I started to develop a real negative attitude about it. And just a real angry in a lot of ways. Really angry. And on one hand, I would tell you that I didn't believe God was real, but then on the other hand, I would tell you that I didn't like him. And I especially didn't like his people.
Yeah. And
so that little cycle just made me very grumpy.
I don't believe in God, and for the moments that I do, I don't like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right. I was very, very bitter. I don't...
Do you know what was driving that bitterness? Is it just because of what you saw with other people, or what was it about God that you felt angry about?
Well, I saw religion as a bunch of rules.
Yeah. Okay.
That I didn't really have any hope of following. And I saw other people also failing miserably who would tell you they're doing good.
Yeah.
I'm a good person. I'm like, no, I know you. You're not a good person. And then I would see the people who would tell you they're following all the rules and just be real jerks about it.
Yeah.
I was like, if this God is real, I don't like him. If he's not real, I don't like those people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And that, and once you think something like that, you just look for reasons to confirm it, So everything I saw that was religious,
just backed up that.
This is all BS.
Yeah.
And then, you look around at other religions, oh, those are all BS too. This is all, everyone's all crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would tell people my thoughts on it. I thought, I would tell them, Jesus, he was not a real guy. Or maybe he was real. He's crazy. Why would you make him God? He's a crazy guy. Rambling on about whatever these things are in this book.
Yeah.
You don't even know if that's real. I had every reason in the world to, all the standard 100 arguments against religion. I was very well versed in them and, just pridefully obstinate against anything faith-based. And yeah, I would tell people, gosh, because people talk about the Crusades and how bad that was. And I'll say, that guy, Jesus, they should have killed him sooner because they let him get too much out. They should have taken care of that quicker because he's caused all these problems and, crazy.
Yeah.
And
you were a junior.
Yeah, junior in high school when that whole thing started.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it's a lot of viewpoints for a junior.
Yeah.
When it comes to
yeah.
It wasn't like anything that was really forced on you either. Usually you would see that in
no.
Someone that grew up in a super religious family where things were forced upon them. But it doesn't sound like you had that.
I de-evangelized myself.
Yeah, it's somehow just something just affected you, or you just were bothered by what you saw. Yeah.
And on top of that, I have a natural rebellious streak in me.
Okay.
That I do not want to be put in a box or told what to do or what to believe or whether, you're not going to tell me I'm right or wrong. I'm going to make my own way.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't told the gospel of grace and mercy and all this. I was told
rules and
regulations, do's and don'ts. Yeah. Everyone's sitting around pointing a finger at each other and no one's getting anywhere. So this is stupid. I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And so that was high school. And what I say is that I think everybody worships something. And at that point I decided that it wasn't going to be any God, right? So I decided I'm just going to take a turn at everything else. Whatever idols, in the church world, we throw this idols term around a lot, and it means anything that gives your life meaning, significance, hope, whatever. So I just replaced this God that I had decided was phony with, a career, possessions, popularity, girls,
social status is what
social status, all these other things. You can kind of put an umbrella of social status over it. Really, my idol became the opinions of others.
Okay,
really, and that's still something that I shake constantly now. That hasn't gone away. I don't worship it now, but I still feel that a lot of times.
Yeah.
That the opinions of others
Yeah.
will build me up quicker and tear me down even faster now than anything else. But back then that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I had nobody telling me anything different. All I had was people confirming that was the idol to choose. You watch TV, you watch a movie, I would talk to my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere you go, everyone's trying to tell you what standard you have to reach to be good enough in the eyes of the world around you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still now. It hasn't gone away.
It hasn't changed, yeah.
Every high schooler in the world, I think it's even more intense now.
Yeah.
Because you have algorithmic ads popping up on your phone.
Yeah, and you have a filter in what you choose to show everybody.
Right.
So people can formulate their opinion about you based off of how you filter that out.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
What you post, what you...
Right. It's even more intense.
Yeah.
But I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at one point I had a list. And this is my craziness. So I had what we call an algorithm in the medical field, and that's basically like when you call 911, they ask you, "What's your emergency?"
Mm-hmm.
And you tell them, "Oh no, my dad fell on the floor," and they have this little book that they flip open to. Okay. And then they ask you, "Is he still breathing?"
Mm-hmm.
And then you check and you say, "Yes." Then they flip, "Okay, he's still breathing." Does he have a pulse? And then they go down this tree until they finally figure out what was wrong with him,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had that for my life.
Okay.
So I had, here's me at the top, and then from there, I had, okay, if I get a job as a fireman, here's this. If I do that, I do this.
Mm-hmm.
I had this big algorithm. And along the path, I said, here's what I want to own, by what point. I want to get married somewhere in here. I want to get a house somewhere in here, the boat, the car, the vacation home. Eventually, like, retirement is over here, travel the world is here, like that standard American perfect, bow dream.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted, and I drew it out.
Yeah. You actually had it.
I wish I still had that.
You actually drew it out. Like,
I wrote it. I had it all planned out. The 20-year plan.
It looked like a board game.
Yeah, it was settled.
Okay.
Funny enough, now I'm like way off over here somewhere.
Yeah.
And part of a big key for that whole thing was becoming a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the linchpin that would unlock all these other things, because that provided the certain schedule and the financial stability and the pride of like, I'm
the status.
Because in my mind, I already talked about it. I kind of idolized that.
Yeah.
And so I pursued that wholehearted.
Okay.
And I went after it hard. I took every class, every rescue class, every single certificate you could get.
This is right out of high school. You just went into
right out of high school.
Okay.
I didn't bother with the 4-year bit because there's no 4-year degree in firefighting.
Yeah, you
so
just went right into like an academy.
Yep.
Okay.
And then 9/11 happens. Firemen are superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's in love with them.
Yeah.
The pay raises are coming in. The benefits are getting better.
Mm-hmm.
All my friends were starting to get hired because fire departments are growing, and I'm like, whoo, let's jump on that train. And it was going well, actually. The first and second year of college was great, except for a couple problems. One is that I wasn't really sure who I actually was. Looking back at it, I was playing several different characters that fit the things that I wanted to happen on this tree, and sort of a chameleon. Depending on the social situation I was in, I'd become whatever I thought I had to for these people to like me. Once in a while, I'd get in trouble when crowds would mix, but I would just kind of leave, get quiet. My parents saw it more than anyone, I think, because I'd have certain people over, and they would actually point it out. My mom would say, like, you're a totally different person when these people are around. And I would always like, no, whatever. Parents are dumb. They don't know. But what they were seeing was this uncertainty.
Shifting.
I didn't know who I was.
Yep.
And the other part was the girls. I was horrible.
You're 19?
19, going on 20, into 21. And at that point, I'd never had a girlfriend. I'd never even had, not even close to that.
Mm-hmm.
And
was there anyone that you liked in school?
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I tried, I asked, I pursued, I had a lot of first dates.
Yeah. Will you go with me? Was that the question?
Yeah. Will you want to go steady?
Yeah. We didn't have DTRs. DTRs a thing nowadays.
Right.
Didn't know that was,
No, I never got there.
Okay.
No, I had a lot of first dates, but not really a lot of second or thirds.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think in my mind, far above a job or any of the other social status things,
Mm-hmm.
I think I measured my own value based on that.
Yeah.
Did I have the woman?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the biggest. That took front row for me.
Yeah.
And I think the less success I had in that area, the more frustrated I got,
Mm-hmm.
and the more worthless I felt. And it started to eclipse everything else. And it was like, in my mind, it was like, I got to figure this woman thing out.
Mm-hmm.
Or all the rest of this is a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is meaningless. If I don't have somebody that is willing to, like, be with me, what is all the rest of this for? Like, this is a waste of time. Nobody loves me.
Mm-hmm.
And my strategy was to I got to trick someone into liking me.
Okay.
That's how I'm going to do it. Who do I have to be to get this done?
Trick someone.
I'm going to get this done.
Okay.
Yeah. And because obviously being me wasn't working, even though I didn't know who that was.
You got to be somebody else that's likable.
Right.
Okay.
And then, the less success I had in that area, just the desperation grew.
Yeah.
And so now I'm 21 years old and just at a point where it's like I'm willing to go anywhere
Mm-hmm.
to try to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when pornography became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's when strip clubs became a thing.
But you felt you had to get this done in order to continue the next 10 plus years.
Right. And because I wasn't having success within the real world,
Mm-hmm.
I would retreat into these kind of fantasy escapes.
Yeah.
So that, for a minute, I could believe that I was desirable, even though I was paying someone to make me feel that way. It's crazy. And I always remember, one time in particular, I went to a nightclub and I was with a couple friends of mine, and I was convinced, like, okay, this is where it happens, right? This is where, like, you always hear about people meeting, mm-hmm. and they have the fling, and
get a couple of drinks.
Yeah, you get a couple of drinks. Like, this is where it happens. Okay, we're gonna go.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in the door, and there's only one other time in my life I felt more out of place, and that was at a quinceañera. 16th birthday party.
I don't know.
Giant Mexican family.
I don't know why you would feel out of place there.
The tuba. Nobody spoke English. I don't know why I was there. More out of place there. But
why were you there?
I got invited by a friend church. Like, come to my quinceañera.
I'm just trying to picture that.
Everybody there knew it too. I remember walking in. They're like, "Who invited the white guy?" I'm like, what? And I'm a foot and a half taller than everybody in there. The food was great, though.
Oh, of course it was.
Oh, gosh.
You just see your upper body just going through the crowd.
Yeah. Are they carrying him? No. In any case, I went to this nightclub. It's called Club X on Harrison Street in San Francisco. It's not there anymore.
I haven't even heard of that.
Yeah. On Friday nights, it was called Club X. Saturday nights, it was called City Nights.
City Nights, yes. I was like, if it's on Harrison, it's... Yeah. Okay.
There's only a couple up there.
Yeah. Okay. City Nights, yep.
And I remember going there and I felt like I am so out of place here.
That's not the place,
no.
Dude. I've been to City Nights. It's horrible.
Apparently it's not that great, right?
It's not.
I didn't know that.
You went to City Nights?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not great. It's not great.
Not.
If my friend Brian...
It's like buying steak at Food Max.
My buddy Brian convinced me this is the spot. If he's... Okay, I hope he's listening.
I think they're
watching.
like $15-$20 to get in.
Yeah, it was barely that. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, City Nights. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me about that. Listen. You're on City Nights.
I didn't know any of the music. The drinks were expensive.
Yeah.
Like the culture was weird. I did not fit in. But here's the thing. I thought I was supposed to.
Oh, okay.
And so all this did, and I went there maybe like 4 times, 5 times, and I was like, I don't fit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to be enjoying myself. This is where all my friends are talking about they're going, they're having fun, they're doing this, they're doing that, and it's not working for me. I'm broken. See, I'm a loser. I told you, self, you're worthless. No one's ever going to love you.
Yeah.
And I just started to get to that desperate spot, and it was ugly.
Yeah.
It was very ugly. And while I was, pretending on one hand to be altogether, future fireman, savior of the world, on the inside, I'm just like, I'm trash. I was worthless. And there was nobody saying otherwise.
Yeah.
I was still receiving the messages that told me this is the standard and here's where you are. And it wasn't working.
So you went that night. That's the only time you ever gone, I'm assuming. Or did you ever go back?
Yeah, I went back.
Okay.
Yeah, a handful of times.
Okay.
I had to try it.
Yeah.
Like I don't give up on things easily.
Okay.
Like this.
Like, did you just go just hang out by the bar, like try to talk to folks, or just?
I would try everything.
Because City Lights is there's so much going on. It's intimidating.
It's very loud.
Yeah.
Big crowd, very crowded, very.
It's not like something you can just walk away. Hey, what are you doing here? You want to dance? I mean, it's just.
No,
you're spitting in a girl's ear trying to talk to her.
Well, and what I didn't realize that how many drugs were going around. Yep. Like I was so oblivious to all that.
Just look at the ground, you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so there's that. And I got to a point where okay, fast forward a little bit. I was in the fire training. Is my neighbor yelling? Is that what that is?
I don't know.
I hear him.
It's okay.
We got the windows open. We need it.
It's fine.
It's okay.
Lily's hanging out listening.
She's going to watch for us. Okay. So I got to a point with it. I was working at an ambulance company in Foster City as kind of like a resume builder for the fire department. That's kind of what you did because there's some medical lights and siren stuff, so it looks good on the resume. And I was working there with a buddy of mine, and there was this gal that got hired there, and she was a fair bit older than us. I think I was 22. I think she was 30.
Okay.
And I found out after a little while that her and one of my friends were like messing around at work.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, I was like, what? Like, this is crazy. And he was like, yeah, I bet she'd be down to like hang out with you too. Like if you wanted down, I could put in a good word. And I was
like just passing it along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like I said, I was desperate.
Yeah.
Like, okay, pass it along.
Yeah.
And he did. And that sparked something, between her and I at work, that was totally based on my own and her insecurity, honestly. It was...
She was trying to get validation from the men.
Exactly.
The men. Yeah. Okay, and you were trying to find the same thing.
Yeah, we're both using each other to try to believe that we're lovable.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Horrible footing to start any relationship on.
Yeah.
And just really irresponsible. Just irresponsible because of what we were doing, but more so irresponsible because looking back at it now, I was an agent of destruction for her and for myself, and beyond whatever company policies we were breaking, that we were breaking something a lot bigger than that. And we got way too serious, way too fast. And, I knew that what I was getting involved in was not good. And as time went on, evidence just stacked up further to communicate that, like, this is not a good idea. Beginning with just like, I was prioritizing time with her over anything else. Friends, family, work, whatever. I would put it first because I needed this. Like, this was the thing that I've been looking for. She's finally giving it to me. Somebody likes me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be whoever I got to be. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to hang on with this, and I'll figure out how to put everything else back together once I'm done. And it got more and more serious, and just kind of more and more things got pushed aside for me. And there was a point in time when I found out that she was married before me 2 times. The first husband, she was married for like 10 years, and she had 2 kids with him.
She's 30?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So she had like a 10-year-old and a 6 or 7-year-old with him, but she left that family and ended up with another guy. She married him. Was married to him for like 2 years, and found out later I actually knew the guy, which is really weird. But 2 very turbulent years. And then when I got with her, she told me a little bit into it that she hadn't actually finalized the divorce with the second guy yet. So now here I am with a married woman who has another husband with 2 kids, and I didn't give a crap about it.
Yeah.
I was there to get what I wanted, and I regret that. You know, I wish I could apologize to those kids, because they had to see me, you know, because she would get them on the weekends, and you know, they knew, like, oh, this is mom's new guy. I mean, how hard must that be for them?
Yeah.
Like, if they were on one of these shows, I would be that guy. You know, I couldn't imagine being them. In any case, things got more and more serious and more crazy.
Okay.
I found out after the fact, as I'm putting things together, and a little bit during, she wasn't very forthcoming with it, that she was a borderline personality. And I know everyone says their ex is crazy or whatever, but this is like a legit diagnosis. And it's basically a combination of schizophrenia and manic depressive. So the schizophrenic side just has really fantastical, strange views of the world, and then the manic depressive side freaks out about it. So they can have their own little party with nothing in reality, and they imagine something and then flip out and then imagine another thing. And they're also very smart. She was so smart. She could convince me of anything. Anything. And after an hour of talking to her, I would tell you, you know, up is down and the sky is green, whatever. And, you know, and I was also just easily influenced because I was willing to do whatever I had to hang on to this, right? And so there was a point when we had decided, and I'll say that a few times, we decided that my parents were like kind of the enemy for us, because they disapproved of the relationship, because they're perceptive people. They're not stupid. They're like, that's not great. And she perceived that they were thinking that. And I was like, no, what are you talking about? But she eventually convinced me, like, I need to get out of that house. And so that's how you moved out. That's how I moved out. Okay. Long answer to that question. Okay. And that was so sad.
Did you move in with her? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she found a place maybe like 2 miles from my parents' house.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No chance of running into them.
Right. In San Carlos. Yeah.
San Carlos.
And hold that up more like in front of you like this. If you talk in the top, it won't. Yeah.
Like this?
That's it.
Oh, okay.
And so, but I knew they wouldn't approve. I didn't want to talk to them about it. I wanted to do a cloak and dagger. So I moved out of my parents' house, like in the middle of the night when they weren't home, and didn't tell them.
Pretty fast.
Gangster. I was quick.
Ta-da! It's empty.
So they came home. Bed's gone. Clothes are gone. You know, whatever belongings I thought I needed. Yeah. Gone. And they had no idea where I went or why.
They must have been livid.
They weren't livid. They were just confused. They didn't know what to do. They assumed that it had something to do with this relationship. Yeah. They thought I was on drugs, or under some kind of a like mind control, which kind of was in some ways. So we moved in together. And then right about that point is when the relationship started to get violent. And, you know, maybe once a week or so, she would just attack me for some reason. Usually, I didn't do something right, or she would think that I looked at that girl. Like, did you check her out? You did, didn't you? And then it would be on. If I expressed any desire to like contact my parents and tell them what was going on, like she'd get very upset.
Cut the phone and break your ankles.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and that was tough. And it was right about that point when she brought up this whole Christian thing to me.
Of all people.
Yeah. I don't know where it came from. Like, it didn't make sense to me, because she was exactly the person that I was critical of as far as Christians go. He said, look at your life. Totally hypocritical. Who are you to tell me you're a Christian, a Christ follower, and try to put anything on me? How dare you? I'm a choir boy compared to you. Yeah. That's what I thought in my head. I'd never say that out loud. But so that theme just started to come up more and more often in the midst of the violent nights and just this isolation that was happening. And there was one point when we heard a knock on the door, and we look out the little peephole, and it's my friend Josh. Now, I don't mind saying his name. I hope he hears it. But he's standing there. He found me. Like, he saw my car. Like, on the street. Duh.
Yeah.
Because he lived about a mile from there.
Yeah.
And he waited until he saw me come home, and then he followed me to the door. So she's home. I'm home. She looks at the hole. I look at the hole. She has a look of panic. I have a look of panic.
Because he knew.
Because he's trying to come and like have a moment. Like, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
And so she says, get rid of him. I was like, what do you mean? Okay. And so here's the scene. I open the door, and my friend is standing where you are. She's standing on the other side of the door, right here, looking at me. He can't see her. She's just staring holes through the side of my head. Get rid of him. And, my buddy, my best friend since I was born. I knew this kid before I have memory. And, he's crying. And he's saying, like, I love you. Like, you're my best friend. What did we do to upset you? Can we just talk? Like, can you come back? Like, talk to us. Like, we can fix this. Like, what happened? Because I cut it off with them. And I was so cold. I didn't even flinch. I was like, it was like I was another person. And I just told him, sorry, man, it's over. Like, we're done. Like, go away, don't come back. And I shut the door.
Oh, wow.
And he left. And I didn't talk to him after that for almost 2 years. The next day, Dad comes by. And I guess my friend had told him. And he told my dad, I found him. Like, he won't talk to me. Maybe you should give it a shot. So my dad came. And, again, knock on the door, same bit. She's there, I'm there, the door opens, and, there's only one time that I've ever seen my dad cry, and this was it. I heard him cry one other time. Never seen him. And I can still see him. Same thing. Where'd you go? What happened? What's wrong? What's going on? What did we do? We can fix this. Just come home. Just come home.
Yeah.
Like, we love you. Like, don't do this. And I did the same thing. And didn't talk to him for over a year.
Oh, wow.
After that. And then...
So you guys are both working at this place still?
I think I had just gotten fired from there.
Okay.
For inconsistent schedule, discipline, I kept missing days, and Mom never came by. She couldn't do it. She couldn't bring herself to just look at me in the eye and have that same thing happen. It would have killed her. Yeah. It was hard. I mean, there's no human on earth that I've hurt more deeply than my own mom. Because I cut her off, and I was so cold about it. It's just, what a jerk. And I know that it hurts because this was in 2004, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm with my mom for more than an hour, it'll come up somewhere.
Really?
Just mention, not in a vindictive, mean, grudge-holding way.
Yeah.
But it was the most traumatic thing she's gone through as an adult. And so it comes up, and something will be mentioned, and then I'll say, oh, I don't remember that. And, she'll just say, oh, I think that was, like, during that time. And I'll be like, oh. And I've never given her a hard time about it. I don't hold it over her. I don't tell her, get over it. I own it. Those are the ripples.
Yeah.
Sin has consequence. And that's one of them. That I have to know that there's still hurt in her that I caused. And it's hard.
Wow.
So now there I am. No parents, no friends, lost a job, living with her in this situation. And, I felt like what am I doing? I've made a mistake. That was my rock bottom. That's like if this was drugs, that would be when I was, passed out on heroin in a street gutter. This
How did
was
I get here kind of thing.
This was my drug coming to its end.
Yeah.
And there was a fella that I had met when I was an ambulance guy named Jared. And at some point while we were working together, Jared had blown his cover and told me he was a Christian. It came up when we were working, and I asked him what kind of music he wanted. And he said Christian rock. I was like, what the heck is Christian rock?
Oh, no.
Like Jeremy Camp,
2004?
Todd Agnew, something like that.
Yeah, 2004? Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah, okay.
And I was like, is that a thing? Like, for real?
Yeah. They were coming up. There was a bunch of them at that time.
Yeah, it was a new thing. K-Love was like brand new. Yeah. Like that was like the first year that was around.
Yeah, Air One was around too.
Air One, that was it. Air One, that's the one that he wanted. And so I kind of brushed that off. Like, oh great, here we go, another churchy guy. That's all I need. As I worked with the guy though, I would watch him, expecting to see what I'd seen everywhere else.
Hypocrites.
And I didn't see it. I didn't see a perfect guy, but I saw someone who was humble and who was like honest, worked hard, respected people. Like when people got on his case, he didn't respond defensively or angry. Like he just showed a lot of spiritual maturity. That's what I would call it now. What I didn't know what I was seeing. And I would hear the way he talked to his wife on the phone and just how he loved her. Just loved her. And when he said, I love you, sweetie, like he meant it. I was like, wow, like this guy's got something. And so in the midst of what I'm going through, I'm thinking of this guy. And so I call him up and I ask him like to come to breakfast. And he agrees to, and he doesn't know why. And so I'm asking him there, and we go to I think it was a Hobie's on El Camino in Santa Clara or Sunnyvale. And we got a table there, and I was just asking him, like, how do you do it? Like, why are you this way? And now, like, from my perspective now, I didn't realize that I was just, like, giving him the silver platter.
Yeah, I was like
this is what we all hope somebody will ask us. Is
this is the commercial.
Yes.
Yeah.
I gave it to him. I didn't know I was asking him that, but he must have, like, I could imagine that he went and told his men's group, this guy asked me how I do it. Yeah. Like they had a big pat on the back and they probably prayed for me or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But he, I asked him, like, how do you do it with your wife specifically? How do you make that work? And he said to me that my wife and I have decided to base our relationship around a mutual pursuit of Christ. And then he just really broke down just a very basic gospel message for me. And I didn't understand it. I didn't know what I was hearing. It was so weird to me. I never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know if I never heard it or wasn't listening. Either way, it was news to me.
In your mind, was it like Christian, Catholic was all lumped into like the same bucket?
Yeah, I didn't know there was something different.
Okay.
I thought there was like Lutheran.
Yeah.
And Catholic.
I didn't know there was the same bucket. It was all the same.
Protestant and Foursquare, Evangelical, Pentecostal. Like I didn't know any of this.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were all the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Now he's breaking down for me the basic evangelical, NIV, ESV, gospel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot more questions. I had a lot of doubts. I had a lot of like, well, how does this work? How does that work? But I can tell you that when I parked the car to go in, I thought Jesus was not real. If he was real, he was crazy. Mm-hmm. That God didn't exist. And if he did exist, he's a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible's not good for anything but burning. Christians are crazy or stupid or both. Mm-hmm. And I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But I want to figure out how this guy's living the way he is.
Yeah.
And over the course of a 30-minute, 45-minute breakfast, I left that breakfast wanting Jesus to be God.
You wanted it to be true.
I wanted it bad to be true. Because what he said, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. Like, if this is true, I want that.
How did he explain it to you? What did he say? Were there things that stood out to you? You're saying that, like, he laid it out. So, like, were there things that...
I remember that first line. Me and my wife, we pursue Christ. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember the exact language that he used for the rest of it, but it was like...
But you just
first grader level.
Yeah.
Like, here's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Romans road, here's the canyon, here's the cross, you're over here, heaven's there, you can't get there because you're sin. Like, super simple.
Yeah.
I never heard that before, and I was like, wow, that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a good deal, but I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Really, can I?
It's too simple.
Am I going to have to trick myself into believing this? Because I want that, but I don't believe it. I've got years of evolution that's been taught to me. Years of this criticism of the Bible itself, whether or not it's even true or who wrote it, and just every argument you've ever heard against religion. Like, in my mind, I had to settle all of that before I could even make room for this. But I believe over that breakfast, that's when God allowed me to crack the door and see him. And I saw something beautiful, and I wanted to see more. So my bent now wasn't to disprove this religious thing. It was, I've got to clean this up so I can believe it wholeheartedly. And so I took the next 2 or 3 months to just research things, ask really hard questions, and seek answers and online and through people and all that. And
did you ever meet up with him again after that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did, and I'll touch on that again in a second. But it was about 3 months later. It was March 1st, 2006.
Okay.
When I kneeled down in that little apartment by myself, and I just told God, that is the most simple, like, salvation prayer. It's like, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry for the ways I betrayed you. I'm sorry that I hated you for so long. I'm sorry that I said this and said that. I know you've already forgiven me. Thank you. I want to go to heaven, and I want to know you while I'm here. That's it.
Yeah.
And, man, I started crying like I'd never cried before. It felt like I was puking up demons. That's the only way I could describe it. Just totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like, I even now I look back at it like, what was that? Like, I've never experienced that since, and it was just like a vomitous crying.
Yeah.
Wrenching. Weird. It didn't make sense to me. I was like, what is happening to me? I said words that I don't know what they mean. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't even know what language it was. And I didn't even know that, like, speaking in tongues was a thing. Like, I didn't even, like, I wouldn't have even known that to fake it.
Yeah.
Except that
it happened.
I was doing it.
Yeah.
So weird. And even while it was happening, I was like, what is this? Am I just doing this? Or what's happening right now? Even my skeptical side was present, even during that moment. And I was like, what is happening to me?
Yeah.
This is crazy. And I told her about it, and then she became a super Christian too.
Okay.
I inspired her to this reinvigorated discipline of Christianity. And I look at that moment as Jesus handing me a parachute before I jumped. Because it only gets uglier from there. I don't know how long we've been talking. Oh, my gosh. Good. Okay.
Well, I don't know how long you want to go, but
I don't know. Go till I'm done, or people get tired of listening. Just pause it and keep going later.
Are we getting comments?
Is there people listening?
Yeah, there's comments. I don't know what they say.
Oh, you crazy people. Okay. Great.
Your writing's too small. Sorry.
Yeah, the phone's too far away.
Yeah.
I'll catch you later.
Yeah. See you Sunday.
So there I am now, a brand new Christian. I don't know my butt from a hole in the ground. I don't know anything about the Bible.
I'm trying to understand that. Okay. That's not a weird image.
I couldn't find my butt with both hands. We'll say that.
Okay.
And
that's cool.
And
so everything was just like, what do I do? Like I just got handed this job, and I don't know what this job is. And
so I started going to a church in Millbrae, Church of the Highlands.
Yeah.
Pastor Don Sheely. Cool old Irish guy.
Yeah.
And
that's a drive.
Yeah. From St. Carlos, it wasn't too bad, but it was still a drive.
That's still up there.
I got plugged into a men's group there.
Okay.
And it was great. Yeah, I started meeting these guys, and wow, they started answering questions for me, and I was on fire. I was reading that Bible cover to cover. It was just so cool. And in the midst of that, my relationship with her was just still getting uglier. And now I was confronted with this thing of like, okay, I'm living with somebody as if I'm married. I'm not married. Like, what do we do? And now, she's theoretically back on track as a Christian. And she says, well, we should get married. And then after I changed my pants, we agreed that was the proper course of action. Looking back at it now, I would have advised myself to move out and stop living with her as if you're married. So if anybody listening is in that scenario, the proper advice is to move out. Stop having sex with her. Learn how to be a husband. And actually treat this woman like a daughter of Christ instead of getting yourself deeper into something you had no business being in the first place. But there I was. Now we're deciding to get married. I think I did send a message to my parents about it. I didn't invite them to it. None of my friends were there. It was very sad.
Was it like a city hall type?
Yeah, it was just me and her, the official guy, and a witness. I didn't even know the witness. And I remember, at the wedding, I was I was crying, and they all thought it's beautiful. He's overcome with emotion, and I was not. I was overcome with just this.
What the heck is happening?
This deep knowing that I was doing something I should not be doing. And from there, I can summarize the next year very quickly. We were married for a year, almost exactly a year. And during that year, it was a crazy combination of both myself growing spiritually, being hungry for Christ, being hungry to meet people who could lead me to be discipled, to grow, to learn. This is when I started listening to the radio a lot, and I was hearing these preachers all day. I would listen to KFAX all day, and just the David Jeremiah, all these guys. And I was just learning. I was so hungry, and I was growing like crazy. But in the midst of this, some switch flipped in her, and she got more and more and more controlling, demanding. And I think the full measure of her mental issues started to manifest themselves, and the violence got worse and worse to the point where it was daily. I'd get home from work, and her thing was always infidelity was her biggest thing. And in her mind, if I was even aware that other women existed, that was, basically the first level of being unfaithful.
Mm-hmm.
That if I didn't see humans as these automaton type of things, asexual,
Mm-hmm.
that I was bound to sleep with one of them. And so every day I would get interrogated about, who did you see? What did she look like? Was she better than me? Did you like her? What did you feel? Did you feel anything? And it would inevitably, there's no way I could answer all the questions right. And it would deteriorate into some kind of violent episode. And,
Mm-hmm. She'll catch you,
Yeah, some kind. Yeah. And I resorted to just like, I gotta lie, just so I can get some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lost 4 jobs that year because I wasn't sleeping. I was sloppy. I was inattentive. I was on the phone with her. I wouldn't show up because it would come time to go to work, and she'd be like, "Oh, if you go to work, I need you here. It means you don't love me." And
oh, dang. Okay.
Oh, there's constantly, everything was against us. Everything was a test. If I didn't have living flowers at the home, that meant my love had died. If I touched the cat, that was affection that was supposed to go to her that I was giving to the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. Just way out there. And she would slap and bite, punch and kick and throw whatever was handy. And even while I was sleeping, which was really creepy, I'd wake up with like water being dumped on my face and things being thrown at me while I'm sleeping. And I was like, what? It was crazy. I would tell her that I need to pray. And I would go out into the front room, and I'd get in a praying position and try to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it was so. That's the only time when she would kind of leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But then inevitably she'd kind of crawl into the room and sneak up next to me and check to see if I was breathing. And I'd wake up, and her face would be right next to mine, and she'd say, "You're sleeping," and then she'd start whooping my ass again. It's crazy.
You can only pray to me. Like, okay. We're at that level now.
it was something, man.
Wow. Okay.
I went to counseling after all this, and they said I had similar symptoms as like a prisoner of war. Like it was bad.
It's like you were trapped.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And I want to be very clear with this, that she's not a bad person. She was sick.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what sickness looks like when you take mine plus hers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. She's not evil. I don't believe she's evil. I don't believe she's an agent of the devil or something like that. She was a sick person who was operating the best that she knew how, which was not really great. And I put myself in a position unwisely for that to be that way. Mm-hmm. So there's no fingers being pointed. We're both there.
Mm-hmm.
As I started to grow more independent, she started to feel like she was losing control. And so the violence escalated to ridiculous levels. There was, I don't think I need to get into gory details, but it was scary. Scary. And I got to a point where I had started to really consider, what does it look like to love somebody? Does that mean trying as hard as I am to contort reality to fit into this crazy box? I don't think so. I think loving my wife would be living in reality, loving her, and inviting her to come there with me, and not accommodating lunacy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to aim at that as my goal, and that just did not fly with her, and it got so bad to a point where she just kind of decided just to check out. And one day she packed up a car, and it came down to the ultimatum, like, either you're going to do all this stuff the way I want it, or I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, I if I love you, I cannot do those things. And so she left. That was it.
Never saw her since?
She moved to Texas.
Oh, okay, that's close.
Yeah. She drove all the way to Texas to live with her sister, and never saw her since. She divorced me over correspondence.
Okay.
We annulled.
You got papers?
Yeah. And I remember, on the This is one of the most devious things I've done. When she was driving there, I called her just to see if she was actually going. And like it was like 4 hours later, whatever, she's in Bakersfield. And I was like, oh, we're actually doing it. And I remember telling her, I said, you can't leave me. And I said, I'm not actually ever going to change, but you can't leave. You won't do it. Just to fuel that fire, just so she would keep driving.
Mm-hmm.
That was so manipulative. It's really mean.
How did she even afford to leave? Was she working? Did she quit her job?
No, she didn't work the whole time we were together.
Okay. So she just had some kind of
she had some savings.
Credit or savings, yeah.
Some credit, yeah. I think I might have bought the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then there I was, newly single. I had a new job that I was walking to. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a car. I hadn't talked to my parents in over a year. Mm-hmm. No friends over a year. So I was like, And I was living literally 1,000 feet that way is where this all happened. Those apartments right back there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was basically starting over. And I was 24. And I was like, well, I guess I should find a church. So I'm like, where can I walk to or take a bus to?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Newark Community Church down the street there.
Mm-hmm.
And just by pure providence of God, I walked into that place. Because I was under the teaching of Pastor Ed Moore for the better part of 10 years over there. Solid, godly guy who opened scripture and just made it so beautiful to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I got plugged into a men's group with other guys, just loved Christ. They heard my story, didn't judge me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just saying, we're so glad you're here.
Yeah.
So glad you're here. Let's go through this book and talk about what it means and get you on the open, on the road back to who you're supposed to be, and I was so thankful for them. Just the generosity they showed me, the welcome, the non-judgment, just they did it right.
Mm-hmm. That
was exactly what I think biblical discipleship is supposed to look like, is what I got when I was there, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
It's huge. And that's when I met the Smith family. I met them there. Adara was 4 at the time. One of them wasn't born yet. They were a brand new family. So I made fast friends with them, became, uncle, godfather, best friend. They actually lived here when I met them.
Okay, yeah.
Which is funny. I think
in this, not the front.
Literally where we're sitting. Yeah.
Okay.
The kids' room was there. Their room was here on a futon.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Okay.
And I started to make new friends and, basically explore what, this family looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of very hard conversations I had to have. Especially with mom, dad, my buddy Josh, my aunts and uncles. I intentionally, hurt all of them.
What was that first phone call like?
I called my mom. What did I say? I said, hey, Mom, she's gone. Can we talk?
Wow. She must have, broke.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what I said. She'd probably remember better than I do.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning of a rebuilding.
Was that? But you got off the phone and then you went there, or?
I think I told them we should get together. We should have dinner or something. Can you guys come over? I didn't have a car, so I needed them to come to me.
Yeah.
And they did. And then they came to that little apartment where all that went down. They had dinner with me there, and I just kind of filled them in on what the last year was like, and they just could not believe it. They were blown away by it, and so gracious. Just, if there's anybody who could hold something against me and have a grudge against me, it'd be my parents, and they never have. they've never held that over me as some kind of a vendetta. That they're open arms.
Yeah.
That prodigal son passage, that was me.
Did they ever say why they didn't decide? I mean, I know you said that your mom didn't want to face the rejection or the hurt, but
yeah.
Did they ever say, like in that year, why they didn't decide to push to try to get to you or find you or communicate with you? They just kind of left you like run the course.
They figured based on my behavior that any effort on their part to pursue me would just push me further.
Mm-hmm.
So they played it really wisely.
Yeah, they just waited
and just kind of slow played it, and in the ways that they could. Like Mom could see my bank activity because I had a Wells Fargo account that was tied to hers, so she could kind of see where I was buying things and kind of what I was doing, that I was still alive and living a sort of normal life, at least in my shopping.
Yeah.
That was it though.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems like things got reset.
It was a big reset.
Yeah.
And it was a growth time.
Yeah.
Huge growth time. I learned how to apologize, how to repent, how to read scripture, how to pray, how to go to church. How to actually be me. And be okay with it. How to have fun, like all these things. I felt like a kid again, and that's why when people now they say that I'm very childlike in a lot of ways, and that's because in my mind, really, I'm only about 13. Like I was reborn, a new person. I rediscovered everything, from food to riding a bike to fun to like what do I like? I don't know what I like. I got to find out what it was like someone who had amnesia, waking up when they're 24 years old and starting over.
Yeah. So you continue to live in that apartment?
Yeah, I lived there for a while. And then I ended up moving in with the Smiths at an apartment with them. They had a third kid and couldn't live here. And I didn't really want to live there anymore. So I was like, okay, let's move in together. I'll be...
Okay.
Uncle, and I'll be Uncle Joey in a full house.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how that connection happened.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then from there, it was just growth. That was it. And figuring out what discipleship looks like. And it was a cool process, man. It was highly punctuated when I hurt my back in 2010. Because I was still pursuing firefighting at that time, and I was still on track for that. And I remember feeling like that wasn't my calling. I didn't know what it was, but I remember thinking like, gosh, firefighting is not where I'm supposed to be, but it's all I know. It's all my education. I'm going to do it. And I remember telling my men's group, I said, I think like if God wants me to do something else, he's going to have to hurt me.
And then you were back.
And then I blew my back up.
Yeah.
Moving a huge patient, like an 800-pound dude.
What? Wait.
Yeah.
That's how you hurt your back?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Because I was working on ambulances again.
Yeah.
And moving people around, and we had this bariatric ambulance, which was made for giant people. And my record was a 980-pound guy. But the guy that hurt me was like in the high 7s or low 8s.
Here in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Oh, they're everywhere. You don't see them out because they can't.
Yeah, because they can't get out.
They can't get through the door most of the time.
Oh,
they're everywhere. Yeah, there's a huge number of people that are that way.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, sort of. It's super sad. I saw more of them than I'd ever care to remember. But this one in particular, just the way he was positioned and the way I was, it was bad. Is bad everything. And I crushed my L5. And I split the L4, the disc between them.
You guys were lifting him?
Yeah. Not even lifting him, just reducing enough friction to slide him over. But I was on the reaching side, so I had to pick up and push over. And it was that lean that, bam. And so, yeah, I felt something like like a twinge, and then I was like, oh gosh, like that's gonna hurt for a couple weeks. I've done that before, no big deal. And then the next morning I couldn't walk.
Oh wow.
And I was like, okay, this is worse than before. Like, in the medical world, they want you to rate your pain from 1 to 10. And I always say that I'll never admit to a 10 because I think only wusses admit to 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I was like, that 9 just kept getting higher and higher. It was so bad.
You don't have to cry.
Yeah, there's no comfortable position.
Yeah.
All I could do is lay in bed and cry. That was it. And like moan.
Yeah.
And take handfuls of like whatever I could get a hold of that I thought wouldn't kill me. And then drink wine right after it. And try to
go to sleep
for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And then finally I was like, I gotta go in. And I saw the doctor, and the doctor said, holy crap, you're lucky you're not paralyzed. Like, we need to get you like drugged, immobile, don't move, pee in a jar, 2 months, you're not moving.
Oh, dang. How'd you get to the hospital? Ryan took you, or?
The first day I drove myself. In my Jeep. It's a stick. I could barely move my legs.
That must have killed you.
Oh my god. Yeah, it was the worst thing. I don't even want to think about it.
Oh my god. I can't even imagine.
So bad.
Wow.
And I refused to use crutches. I'm such a prideful turd. I would not use crutches. I made a staff that I would like Moses, like I would lean on my staff as I was walking. So I still have it. Just in case.
Just in case. You have any 800-pound people around here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, I went through 9 cortisone shots and,
Jeez.
Maybe 6 months into it, wasn't getting any better, still excruciating. I was taking horse morphine, like just fat. Morphine wasn't enough. I have a high tolerance for opiates, apparently.
Okay.
So they would give me, let me give you some of this, and I say, it's not working. They'd give me a bigger one, it's not working. Okay, here's 40 milligram morphine pills. And I say, that kind of worked, but not really. It's, okay, well, take it with this Dilaudid, too. Take it because this will make it stronger. It's like 10 times that.
They're just racking you up with
I was
meds.
choking down opiates like crazy. And then I would drink red wine with it, which they said you're not supposed to do because it makes it more potent.
So good you didn't get addicted to that stuff.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really addictive either. As soon as I thought I could get away with not using the drugs, I stopped.
Okay.
But man, I'm glad I had them because I didn't sleep for weeks. I just lay in one spot, just try not to hurt. It was super humbling. I remember when I was going to go out and I couldn't reach my feet. And, I was supposed to be this big fireman hero, right? And I was having a Dara who was like 8 at the time. Like, I had her put my socks on for me.
Oh, wow.
And like, can you tie my shoes, but tie them loose so I can get them off on my own? And I was like, what the heck is this? Like, that was a real challenge.
Yeah.
And I felt like that idol of firefighting was being stripped off because as it turns out, as time went on, they say that I'm 33% disabled and basically ineligible now to apply for a certain category of jobs legally, medical wise, whatever. I think 33 is too much, but
yeah.
Since then I've been determined to, like, I'm going to be the most capable 66% man that you've ever met.
Yeah.
Forget that. But anyway, so that firefighting was gone. And I remember I was standing right here at the time, and I remember like thinking, okay, like, it was kind of a relief in some ways. Like, I can let this go. Like, so strange to be thinking that.
Yeah.
That my life's dream was being crushed. And I was actually feeling like,
at peace with it.
Oh, I can finally let it go. Maybe now I can submit to God's plan for me. And I was almost thankful for it in a weird way.
Yeah.
And it still hurts. Physically. Just doing a houseboating trip.
Yeah, took a toll a little bit. Sounds like
anchoring boats, and so I've got the Aleve handy, and I know all the stretches, and I've got one of these tables you hang by your feet, and
Okay.
I know what to do. Do a lot of core training, a lot of leg training.
Yeah. I see some of your, before your posts where you're doing those leg presses. I'm like, yeah, that's...
I'm going to be as strong as I can for as long as I can. This is what will get me. I'm almost sure of it, that there's probably going to be a time when I do something and it's going to blow up again. And that'll be the big surgery or whatever it is. But until then, you know, I'm going to try not to let that happen.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do as much as I can until then.
Yeah.
And that's also part of the reason I won't do, you know, like the CrossFit type workouts. The deadlifts, you know, that's a red zone for me. That it's not going to happen.
Wow, that's
yeah.
That you know, it's funny, as you're on a side note, as you're just talking about what's been going on. Like, it's funny because I feel like we've been like circling each other because I lived in Foster City for 6 years.
Oh yeah.
And then I was going to this church here, and to know that you were at those apartments across the street
is
just funny.
This one right here.
The one with the white steeple.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
That's funny. The Hirsches went there, too.
Yes. Yeah, we came from there, yeah. And so it's just funny, like, you're telling me the stories, I'm like, we're kind of like circling each other.
That's funny.
So...
And then we meet at Resonate.
Yeah. And so, well, speaking of, like, you're at the church down the street, and you were there for a while. They shaped you. You can tell that God, it sounds like God has just been forming you.
Yeah.
Getting you in line with a lot of things that, you know, a lot of questions answered. It seems like he was just, like, you knew he wanted you there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at some point, you and I met.
Yeah. Right.
So what happened in between that?
So yeah, there's almost an 8-year stretch there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I grew a lot in 8 years. And I started to explore what I felt was a calling. Because everywhere I went, people were, you know, inviting me into leadership roles in the church.
Yeah, okay.
Teaching high schoolers, teaching kids. Hey, can you lead this? Can you lead that? Can you lead the Awana, you know, grade school, the TNT boys? Can you do that? And I was like, okay. I just kept getting invited to things, and I just kept saying yes. And that was kind of my policy for a while, was just to say yes to whatever, and find out what God wanted me to do. And I enjoyed that so much, and just serving in those different ways was really cool. But I started to get to a point in my own walk where I felt like I was doing a lot, but that I'd hit a ceiling in my growth personally. Like, I wasn't maturing more. I wasn't learning a lot more. And at the church that I was at, the congregation was starting to thin out, and a lot of the men had gone, and it was kind of a remnant left there, which part of me is like this stubborn, I'm not going, you know, I'll be here till the end kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I kept feeling this pressure building in me, and this is what I'm talking about. I feel now, and it's like it's an uncomfortableness, because I knew that, like, I feel like something's gonna change. Like, God wants me to do something. He wants me to go somewhere, but I don't know what he wants me to do. It's just really awkward. And I was in that spot for about a year. And there was one of our TNT boys named Josiah Montiel. And I think at the time he was like in 4th grade. Maybe 5th grade. And he was getting baptized at Resonate.
Okay.
And this was when Resonate was at the adult school. And he invited me to come watch it on a Sunday. So I was like, oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll come watch you get baptized. That's great. He came to the Awana program. On Wednesday nights, we did Awana, which other kids from other churches came to. And so he was there. That's okay. And I went to Resonate, and I remember Jackson was preaching. And I remember, like, wow, that was a really deep, like, heavy message. Like, these people, like, they stick around for this every week. Like, that was hard. Like, I was really, like, I don't remember what he talked about, but I remember it being like one of those just like, Oh, sorry. Punched my own microphone. It's one of those like bang, bang, bang messages.
Yeah.
And, you know, the worship was powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I loved that the lights were off. And I saw some men there that I'd known just from here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the baptisms were happening in the parking lot in that little kid pool.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those Sundays when like 4 people came out of the crowd.
Yeah, okay.
And wanted to be baptized spontaneously. And I remember standing there just in tears.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it scared me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, holy cow. Like, I haven't, you know, that was the Spirit of God. I was witnessing God moving in that place.
Mm-hmm.
And it scared me a little bit because I hadn't really experienced that but a couple times before. It wasn't at a church. It was at like a conference, you know, Promise Keepers and stuff. It was pretty cool. So I went back to my church, and we were in term looking for a pastor. You know, Ed had retired. We were looking for a new one, and it was just not a lot of energy, and I was so hungry, and I wanted that growth. I wanted that whatever was happening there.
Mm-hmm.
God was there. I wanted to find that, and it took me a year of struggling and hanging on and kind of being stubborn in a lot of ways, and just resisting to where I was like, gosh, like I have to go see it again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, I mean, I don't want to pump Resonate like it's the only church in the world or whatever, but for me it was the one that I'd experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And I was feeling a draw to go there again.
Mm-hmm.
So I did. And in the morning, I went to first service.
Okay.
Had to find the church because it moved. I was like, where are they? I thought this must be a different place. Oh, well, whatever. I'll check it out. It turned out to be the same. It was Resonate. It was just American high school now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like the first week, and I was just like, yes, this is it. I feel that again. Like there's confirmation in my soul that I belong in this seat right now. Mm. And the message was great. The worship was great. I saw people I knew again.
Yeah.
And then I went back to, you know, the other church under the radar. I was two-timing for a little bit. And then I think the third week that I came was the MC Expo.
Okay.
And they're talking about small groups, and I was like, all right, I'm going to join one of these. Like this, I think this is what I need. This is that, because they sold it as, this is the discipleship engine, you know, the ecosystem, the fruits of the Spirit. Like this is how we do it. Iron sharpening iron. Like it was a good pitch, you know. And I believed it, and it was exactly that. And that's when I signed up for an MC, even though I was still in leadership at my old church. And I'd made the decision at that point, like, okay, I have to start kind of untethering some things and trying to not just abandon things, but make sure stuff was kind of buttoned up. And I made the move. And I met you 2 weeks after that at Suju's on Stevenson.
Yeah. What were you thinking going into that? Like,
into the MC?
Like just up until that Saturday, like was there like what ideas of what to expect? Were you?
I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I knew what I'd been told about what the purpose of MCs are, and that, you know, this is how we do discipleship. And, you know, if you want to grow, this is how our church does it. You come to these MCs, you're going to be challenged. You know, the standard set of things that you do at an MC. You go through scripture and you point at each other and you say, what does this mean for you? And you really talk about it. And that's what I was missing. I needed that. And that's what I got. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that because we already had our group pretty much, like we were already meeting. We already knew everybody that was in our group. And so when we got the new name dropped in, you know, Matt Knutson and I were like, who's Ryan Weber?
I remember Matt called me.
Yeah, I had him call you just to talk.
Hey, Matt. He's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, this guy called me. That's crazy. Like, they actually want me there?
Yeah, just to like then have a conversation.
He invited me out to coffee.
Mm-hmm.
We met up at the Starbucks on Maui.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a couple nights before the MC.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of meet me and figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was cool. I felt like really like pursued.
Yeah.
I was like, this is neat. Like they actually want me there, and I loved it.
Yeah. Matt had a great heart, and like it wasn't like a task to do. It was like he genuinely wanted to connect.
Yeah.
And prior to that, we were both trying to Facebook stalk you. Like, who's Ryan Weber?
This truck driver, EMT.
It was like I think we found like 5 different ones, and I think he narrowed it down to the right one. But,
a couple.
Yeah, like I don't know. Is it 2 Bs, 1 B?
Oh, 1B.
Yeah,
1B.
Yeah, I remember walking in, and I mean it was God. We used to meet 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
7, I think it was. Yeah, it was early.
And I remember you were there first.
Yeah, I got there early.
Yeah,
and that's normal.
I'm like, I wonder if that's him. That's probably him. Like, he's a big burly guy. He's like, I don't know. What's he gonna do? He had like a Dickies jacket on and
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, I had a goatee,
Yeah.
monster truck hat,
Yeah.
and a Dickies jacket on.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, here goes little old me.
Oh.
But it was great. Like that first conversation was. I mean, I still remember it.
Yeah.
Not knowing where things were gonna lead to after that.
Yeah.
But it was great. I loved being in an MC with you, and I feel like all of us were challenged. I love that you were just open and honest. Like the first statement, that I want to be disciple. Like what? Like, who talks like that? Like you don't. It was one of those things. It was one of those things. Like the moment you had with your friend at Hopies. It's like you just handed it on
red carpet.
Yeah, it was just like is Jazer filming this? Is this a commercial for an MC?
That's funny.
Like that's what it felt like. But I did feel that you brought this sense of like I want to be open and I want to be vulnerable. I want to be I want to be known and not be judged for it. At the same time, I want to experience this grace. Like I sense that within you, and so it was awesome. Having you in that group, and a bunch of other people that were there too.
Yeah, well, that's where I met Travis.
Yep.
Taylor, hopefully they're listening, and the Knutsons.
Yep.
Tim Tay was in that group when he was like 18 or something like that.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna join an MC. He just like sign up, dude. Just come along.
Bernie Martinez was in there. Yeah, that was a great group. Yeah. Chris Nance was in there. Yeah, Lee
came out. Yeah, Lee came from Travis.
Brian Gassicow, Alex Galang, all that. Yeah, that was a cool group, man.
Yeah, that was fun.
Awesome.
Saturday mornings.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I'd never experienced anything like that. And I was like, this is what I came for. This is what I needed.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. And then a couple years later.
Yeah. So how did things just sort of blossom after that? Because next thing I know, I'm like, you're like all over the place.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is when I first started going, I thought like, oh, this place is kind of like established. Mm-hmm. Like they've got people doing everything. Like they don't need me. Mm-hmm. I could just like consume. Mm-hmm. And that lasted about 2 weeks. Yeah. Because then I saw the thing, they need setup help. Mm-hmm. And they need trailer drivers. I was like, great. I drive semi-trucks for a living at the time. I could drive a trailer. That's easy. So I did that. Started meeting more people and bumped into Marco Marquez. Mm-hmm. And, a friend of mine introduced me to him and said, hey, he does the Amplify, the middle school ministry. Mm-hmm. Like, you should talk to him because they knew that I did that at my old church. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, cool. I'll talk to Marco. And then I met him and I was like, wow, like this guy is amazing. Like just standing there on the steps, outside the auditorium. Of course, he's up on top of that concrete thing when I was on the ground. I think it was some kind of dominance thing he was pulling, but we'll let that go. But he was just like, man, he loved these high schoolers. He loved these students. He wanted them to understand the gospel. Mm-hmm. And part of me was like, gosh, I want to understand it like you do.
Yeah.
And Chase McVean was just interning at that point. Mm-hmm. And so, I met with the two of them and was like, yeah, why don't I do this amp thing too? That sounds great. Mm-hmm. And I'm still doing that. It's 5 years later.
Yeah.
yeah, and then it just kind of came. It just kept going from there, and some people found out that I'm sort of useful for like just mechanical, like doing things.
Yeah.
So I just got invited to barbecue and do this event and set that up, and Christine got me into the Make a Difference days and doing projects for that, and then I was loving it.
How did you get into the stage building, like designing the set and all that?
I'd seen a couple that Kevin Oaf had put together, and I'm into woodworking, and you know I'll try to make almost anything once.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And you know I met him because he was also doing amp at the time. And I was just asking him, like, hey, who does all that? And he says, well, I do it, and, Grace Maltzby does it. And I was like, oh, could I help?
Oh, okay.
He's like, sure. And so then, off we go. And I start start building all these crazy giant art projects every couple months.
But they make a big difference in the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. What's exciting is tomorrow I'm meeting with Joshua Korn.
Yep.
Who's our creative arts director.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about stage art.
Okay.
So cool. Now I have like a boss, like a creative arts director. Like he's actually going to help me.
Yeah. Like
here's the feel that we want the art to communicate. Like he's going to talk like that and all these artistic terms. It's really exciting to me. And we're going to come up with beautiful things together. I can't wait.
It's like the glue.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so looking forward to that.
So you guys never hung out yet, one-on-one yet?
No. Tomorrow's my first date with Josh Korn. It's going to be great.
You're going to love it. I mean, since like day one when we connected, I mean.
And he feels like he's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it's weird.
He does.
Yeah.
But overall, like, I mean, he's just a great guy. I mean, Laura and Rona get along great, but, Josh and I mean, we had lunch, was it yesterday too? But it's just like when we talk, when we see each other at the gym now.
He's CrossFitting. He joined.
He loves it. I was like surprised. Like, he likes getting hurt. Like, okay, great.
He's a gamer. He could take it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a great dude.
Yeah. And I got to know his kids a little bit over the Adventure Week thing. Yeah. Cool kids too.
Has he told you about like how his kids have pretty much transformed?
Yeah. Yeah. It's blowing me away.
Yeah. He's like crying over it.
I know.
It's like he's never seen stuff like that before.
His kids love coming to church.
Yeah.
They can't wait. They ask him how many days it is until Sunday.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want, and I want them to tell them about it when they get in the car.
Yeah.
Here's what we did. Here's what I learned.
That's what's happening.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Welcome to California.
I know.
I'm so glad that worked out.
He's learning a bunch of like weird cultural things with us. But.
I know. He had boba the other day, and it's a big deal. Apparently he doesn't like spam, which I'm sure he'll...
Yeah, I know. I learned that too, and I'm like, that's a mark.
He'll grow into it. It's okay.
I'm gonna have to learn to forgive him for that, but I'm gonna serve it to him someday and
sneak it in there.
See what happens when he eats it.
Oh gosh.
So when you were getting more involved, at what point did you get into becoming getting on as staff?
Right. So that's a weird. Yeah, how do you go from trucker or fireman to staff member at a church?
Yeah.
So I was digging a hole in the back of Ryan Kwan's house. Mm-hmm. He was gonna have.
Did he know that?
He knew it. Okay, he invited me. But I brought a machine from work, a little excavator, and he wanted to do this kind of koi, like a waterfall French drain sort of thing, but he needed a big hole for it. So I said, I'll bring a machine. I'll dig a hole in your yard. Great. So I did. And then after that, we went out to lunch. And I remember just talking to him about, like, just life direction. And I was kind of new to Resonate still, and still kind of feeling this, like God's taken me somewhere. I don't know what it is, but I want to learn. I want to find out. I'm willing. I just don't know. And he just says kind of like, well, what would you think about like interning for a year? I was like, how old was I? I was 30. So interning. I can't do that. I can have a job. Grown up. I can't intern.
Not out of college.
And in the classic phrasing that he says things. He says, "Well, you know what? If you want it, you'll figure it out." I was like, "Damn it! Now I got to figure it out."
You got to walk back thinking like, "What is he saying?"
I do want it.
Yeah.
I do want it. And, I told him, well, give me a week. Can I have a week? And he's like, great, take a week.
Mm-hmm.
And, during that week, I just weighed some things out, and I was like, I don't know how I can make this work, because it's going to take this much time away from my work. My job is full-time. Like, I can't leave it. Am I going to have to get another job? Like, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I concocted this ideal plan that my one job will let me work part-time for a year while I intern, and I can go all in interning for a year and then go back to the job after a year. Great. And I said, that's not going to happen, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm praying about it, and I was like, all right, I'll shoot an email to my boss and whatever, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, I'm in the Sun State branch in Warm Springs, and there's this tall, bald guy standing in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at me, he says, "Are you Ryan?" I was like, crap.
How much do I owe you?
For some reason, every boss, like big boss at that company, is tall and bald. So when you see one of these guys, you assume he's in charge of something.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. I was like, oh gosh. And he says, hey, you're, my name is, I think it was Alan. And I'm the operations director for the Western United States for Sun State Equipment. Basically the second in command of the entire company.
Mm-hmm.
I never met him before. I haven't met him since. And he said, your boss forwarded me an email about this, intern, kind of like I presented to them as like a local mission trip sort of thing, because the language was just hard. But the best way to communicate it where they would get it is like, yeah, I want to spend a year serving my church. And he was like, sounds good to me. Like, I think we're going to do everything we can to accommodate this for you.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I want you to get with your branch manager here, tell him the deal, get with the dispatch, tell them like when you can work and all that. We'll work around the schedule, but we definitely want you to pursue this.
Oh, dang.
For the year.
Okay.
And I was like, oh crap.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually going to do this.
Yeah.
So I texted Quan, and I said, all I said was, hey, I don't need a whole week. Like, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember other people at the office heard him like yell or something. Yes. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Weber's going to intern. I'm like, what? He's old. He can't intern. He's like, don't worry about it. He's coming anyway. It's going to be great. And then, I was like their new favorite guy for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Interning. I did everything, man. I showed up to everywhere I could. I was technically under Amplify with Chase as an intern, but I did everything.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to do everything I can for a year because the clock is ticking. I won't have another year like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I came up with that stinking Easter party. That was great. We won't get into that. That's more traumatic than anything else.
It was fun while it was happening.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, I'm sure. I just did everything. Make a difference days and Easter party stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Every amp thing I showed up to. It was so great. It was so fun.
Mm-hmm.
And, the year was coming to an end. And, I was assuming, like, okay, I got to make good on what I said and go back to trucking full time and, say this was a fun year. Thanks, guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jackson and Jen Haya invited me in, and they offered me a job, and they said, we want you to teach kids in the grade school ministry on Sundays. We want you to run for the city events and build stage sets, and we want to pay you full time to do that. And I was like, really? Yeah. Let me think about it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool. But there was still, being single, living alone, Bay Area. Mm-hmm. There's a certain cost involved with doing that.
Yeah.
And I still needed some income.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna shoot another email. Mm-hmm. And I just like shot for the moon and just said, hey, Sun State, so about the year thing. I want it to be forever. And I want to actually work less hours irregularly. You know, like I kind of just want to call you guys and tell you when I can work. How's that sound? And they're like, yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't do that. That's fine. Fine. Okay, whatever.
Wow.
I should have asked for more. And I think they gave me a raise right after that too.
Oh, what?
And the whole thing is ridiculous because right now, out of about 5,000 drivers that work for this company, I am the only guy that, like, tomorrow's Thursday. I'm going to send him a text tomorrow and say, hey, I'm good to work Friday and Monday. But I'm going to take Saturday off. Like, normally I try to work Saturdays because that's kind of sweet for them. Mm-hmm. But I'm taking it off because I got other stuff going. And they'll thank me. And I'm like, I'm totally abusing you guys. But and they'll thank me. Hey, thanks for your help over the weekend. Yeah, that was great. I'm like, okay, you're welcome. Huh. Whatever.
Yeah.
You're paying me to just totally take advantage of this in every way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing now. So I work, you know, I run the children's ministry. I passed off a lot of For the City stuff because I found, like, schedule-wise, they were conflicting a lot. Like, I'd have 2 events on the same weekend. Yeah. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
But I build the sets and run the grade school ministry and drive trucks in the cracks.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's like 10 years ago, you probably wouldn't have imagined this.
No, I would have said you're crazy. They wouldn't let me work at a church. Are you kidding? I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
I love it.
But it sounds like, listening to your story, I mean, I knew bits and pieces of it. Some of the stuff I got reminded of. And, like, there's some parts that you shared that were new. And it's almost like, you're coming from nothing. And even in the midst of your suffering, you can still experience Christ.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not as if, like, suffering was, sometimes when we go through things, we tend to not run towards God, or
right.
And it wasn't like you were just like, oh God, I need your help, but it was almost like you said, you had that moment in your house March 1st, and you were still battling stuff with your ex.
Yeah.
But it sounds like your foundation and your hope was being defined.
Yeah.
And it was being almost solidified.
Yep.
You know. That's amazing, dude.
I know.
Because you don't deserve any of this.
Nope. That's, you know? what blows me away is as I grow to know Christ more and just understand exactly who he is and what he was and who he was, and you know, that the words that he said on the cross, he says it's finished. Like, what did that mean? Mm-hmm. What did Christ mean when he said it's finished? Except to say that the work of redemption was finished. Sin was being dealt with. Mine was. You know, and what I know of Christ is that he didn't say that out of ignorance. That he was God. And he had the knowledge of God. And when he's saying it's finished, he knows exactly the measure of sin that he's giving his life for.
Yeah.
It's not like a bottomless bucket, you know, that we just chuck sin blindly into and it disappears. It says God forgets it, but that doesn't mean that he didn't know an exact accounting of every sin that I've ever committed, every sin that I will commit, was all right in front of his face. You know, the omniscience of God doesn't have to think about, oh, wait, how many? Like, he knows. And when I often try to remember, you know, my own sin, just measure it with myself. And I can't consciously remember maybe 0.01% of the worst of my sins. You know, including directly cursing Christ himself, like with my mouth.
Yeah.
Blasphemy. And to think that he had that, the sin that I can remember, plus all the rest of it in front of his face. And he says it's finished.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
What a ripoff. Like, he's paying his blood
Mm-hmm.
The most precious thing that's ever existed on earth is the blood of Christ,
Mm-hmm.
and he's bidding that on me. He
Mm-hmm.
could have he could have bid a penny, and it would have been a ripoff.
Yeah.
And now he takes that tongue and uses it to teach grade school kids
Mm-hmm.
about how amazing the gospel is.
Mm-hmm.
He has a sense of humor too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah.
Of all people, I'm the one that parents are trusting
Mm-hmm.
to deliver this good news to their kids. Hopefully still. after this.
Sounds like it is so far.
Yeah.
But
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing because it's like, I mean, we can look at you and think, yeah, Ryan is a great guy. He is gifted. He has certain strengths and abilities, but you know the sins of your heart. You know the things that you wrestle with and that are like like, oh, I can't believe I even thought that or felt that or did
I
that,
know.
And yet God still uses you.
I'm still an incredibly prideful
Mm-hmm.
and selfish, self-absorbed person.
Yeah.
I trip over my own ego
Yeah.
constantly, like a blind person without a cane.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that the further you go, you would think that, and it's weird because I'm better than I was yesterday, and I'll be better tomorrow than I am today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this process of redemption is continuing, and I'm growing.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to this whole Christian thing, it's not like you get better at it. It almost seems like the further you get, the more of your own ineptitude
Mm-hmm.
and the more of your own sin that you actually unearth.
Mm-hmm.
You discover the weight of what you've been forgiven for. Because I'll sin tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll sin tonight. And I'm constantly like this excavation, discovering like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
the weight of what I've been forgiven for just gets heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And I get more humbled, and to know that the words that he said, that it's finished, only encompass more and more and more. That only gets more significant in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, while I'm growing, I'm also realizing how far away I am. And the times when I've thought I'm really close, I realize I was a fool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't know anything. 10 years from now, I'll think I'm a fool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The 47-year-old version of me will probably listen to this
Mm-hmm.
and say, "You're so silly. If only you knew."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's great, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting yourself out there in a way that's like,
Yeah.
you want people to know, not of your greatness, but
Yeah.
that even in a life like yours, that there's hope.
Well, and the latest current event with me is I've started dating again
Mm-hmm.
after 10 years of being terrified of the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that again. I discovered through other means that she had moved on, and actually has a kid, and I hope that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of freed me up in my mind, and started dating again.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with a great gal right now. Hope she's listening. She probably is.
Mm-hmm.
But she's amazing. And she's heard...
Yeah, she seems like it.
She's heard... Well, hopefully she's heard all this, but I've told her the summary of that. And, she's... It humbles me that she would know these things.
Mm-hmm.
And still spend time with me and look forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually want to grow and in her language to begin building something.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's part of this pressure that I'm feeling, is that I feel like there's a dad in me and there's a husband in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited to begin taking steps in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think one of the greatest ministries that any man can have is marriage and fatherhood.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I experience fatherhood in a lot of ways already. Clearly, because I feel like I have 200 kids, and
yeah,
a lot of these kids I think of as my own children, and I tell them that. I mean, they're precious to me. I would do anything for them. But there's, you know, your own family is kind of another step on the way.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of my calling.
Yeah.
And not to get super weird. You know, her and I have talked about it, so I'm not going to freak her out. Like, oh, he's so serious. Like, you know.
Is he talking about husband and dad? I mean,
no, neither of us are under illusions that we're just dating for fun. Like, we're shopping for spouses. I don't know if we have found them, you know, but that's my goal. I'm excited.
You guys had a DTR moment.
Yeah. I'm excited about exploring what that could look like.
Yeah.
You know, and it's exciting. I don't know what's next.
Yeah.
Church-wise, I'm enjoying the heck out of what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep learning and keep accepting whatever open doors and invitations are ahead of me.
Yeah.
And keep recording stories like this.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Keep doing it, man.
Yeah.
Keep doing it. I'm encouraged by you and yeah, this platform here, the impact you've had that God has done through you at Resonate Church, and just having you as a friend, like, you blessed me.
Thank you.
I mean, you built me a drum box. I mean, that was like the coolest thing.
That's right.
You know,
I did.
I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting this. You even delivered it to my house.
I know. It was kind of out of the blue too.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is cool. You actually spent time.
Yeah.
So that was great, man.
Yeah, it's a cool looking box too. I've never made another one like that. It was fun.
It's even smaller.
Yeah. I made a custom.
So my legs will have to hang off the edge.
Custom built.
Do you have any final thoughts or any parting words? Last words, sermon series?
Yeah, gosh. You know, what could I say that I haven't said? Except that the most beautiful thing in this world is Christ.
Yeah.
I did not always believe that was true. And I fought that for a long time. I haven't convinced myself of this. I'm not blindly, dumbly following something fantastical because I just really want it to be true. I believe that there is a God and that Christ was Him in the flesh. And that He came to this world knowing that He was going to absorb the sin of billions of people who would call Him God. Yeah. And unfortunately, there's a lot that won't. And for whatever reason, at breakfast on that day, I was flicked in the back of the head, and He just let me see Him. Yeah. And I'm humbled, I'm privileged that He would see fit to commission me as somebody who gets to tell people about Him. And at this point, I get to be the voice that represents Christ to the most impressionable, like the youngest of any of us.
Yeah.
These little ones are put into my care. And, you know, that's impossible unless Christ is real.
Yeah. This
doesn't happen.
Yeah.
This is impossible.
Yeah.
That's the only way I could say it. And for anyone who is listening, you know, who's heard something different today, that's not an accident. You know, I think God speaks even through donkeys like me. And hopefully something I've said today has done that for someone. And then hopefully things that He leads me to say in the future will do the same. Yeah. I want to see where this goes.
Yeah.
Come with me.
No, amen to that.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, it finally cooled off a little bit.
Yeah, I did. It's not... I don't know where Lily went.
She gave up.
She said she was done.
Yep, tapped.
Yeah. No, this was fun, man. I enjoyed our conversation. I hope everybody else that's listening did too. And,
right on.
Once again, I'm blessed by you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, a high five out here. There we
You're
go.
on camera? There you
Very
go.
nice. Hey.
Hey guys.
All right. I'm
Cool.
pushing.
All right.
I'm pushing the stop
Thanks.
button. Here it is. All right. Well, there you go. The interview is done. It's in. I did it. Whew. I feel such a relief having that done. And that was a long one. That was a 2.5 hour one. So those of you who trudged through the whole thing, congratulations. You survived. Thank you so much for listening. Again, it's my hope that these stories are an encouragement to believers and non-believers alike, that just hearing what Jesus looks like through the perspective of real people would just lead you to see him more clearly. You can follow the show, please, on Facebook. Look for the Great Stories podcast there. Go ahead and give it a 5-star rating or a thumbs up and a good comment on the Stitcher, Apple Podcast, whatever platform you're streaming from. Just go ahead and give me a good vote up there. It'll help the show come up quicker as people are searching for new shows to watch or listen to. And of course, if you have any comments on the show, or if you want to be on it yourself, please shoot me an email at thegreatstoriespodcast@gmail.com. See you next time. Oh, well, hi, you're still listening, which means either you knew this was coming or you accidentally left your player on longer than you should have. Well, you have discovered my Easter egg portion of the show. This is just something fun that I do. Sometimes I talk about serious things. Sometimes I talk about goofy things. One way or another, you're going to hear something. So I got a special request today. Sometimes in the course of truck driving, I take on little fun projects, and one of them, I decided one time I wanted to learn how to do the voice of Gollum from Lord of the Rings. And I've kicked around the idea of becoming a voice actor or a voiceover person, and I just thought it'd be fun. So I learned how to do the Gollum. So I'm going to do Gollum here. It's super embarrassing, and if you don't want to hear it, don't hear it, but I'm going to do it right now. So it starts with a little funny voice. Precious. One of my favorite lines. He's talking to not Bilbo. What's the little hobbit? What's his name? The fat hobbit. Dang it. Anyway, he says, "Give it to me, you stupid fat hobbit." We want it. All right, I'm losing it. I gotta go to bed. Good night.